Like I still held Christian beliefs, but I was deconstructed enough to where I was like, God's not going to care if I drink alcohol or have sex with my girlfriend. Like, I mean, what that's, belief differences aside, but yeah. And he was just like, have you guys had premarital sex? And I was like, multiple times a week, my guy. Like we're staying in it. And yeah, he literally got up and left. And I remember I got an email from him and the pastor, and they're like, you can't come back.
He had to go confide in the pastor that you were not living the way you should.
I don't think that's what he did. I think he ran to the bathroom and jerked off real quick, and then
probably, dude. Yeah.
And then he confessed that to the pastor.
He's like, listen, Spencer was talking about some really hot stuff.
Like, I'm so jealous. And then he started thinking. And it wasn't about his wife, and he felt real bad about it afterwards.
I just can't quit thinking about Spencer thrusting.
Hey, everybody, we are back with another episode of Growing Up Christian. I'm Sam.
I'm Casey.
I'm Jeremiah.
Woo! I always feel like we go, like, every time we skip a week, Jeremiah, I'm like, it feels like it's been forever since we've talked to you. But I also feel like it's been forever since we've done this, and we only just did it last week. So, I don't know. It's been a busy week for me. But I have something on my mind, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. It makes it sound weird if I think it sounds weird if I just lead with that. But I'm thinking about gym teachers.
One in particular? Yeah.
So when I was in private Christian school, my gym teacher was a woman, and it was that is there a stereotype for women gym teachers or no?
I've never heard of a woman gym teacher, to be honest.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. At Christian school, we didn't really have gym teachers, and then the other places I went, it was always like a weird old guy.
Yeah, like and I'm not talking about coaches, like coaches, men, women. There's tons of them. Gym teachers, I feel like I've only ever heard of middle-aged ex-athlete male gym teachers.
Well, that's interesting. So my gym teacher in Christian school was also the person who did everything in the area. Apparently, I feel like she swimming lessons. She did swimming lessons. For the town, she was like just an athlete. She had like an athletic build, short hair, kind of a little masculine in some ways. And she did you ever have those experiences when you're a kid and you see your teachers out of context and it's weird?
My teacher was my mom, so no, but I can track with you.
This isn't working at all.
I remember when my teacher finally, when he got a girlfriend, it was bizarre for all of us. We're like, oh my word, he's Mr. So-and-so, he's dating? This is insane.
Now, how old was he? Because at the time, you probably thought he was a full-blown adult, but he was probably younger than you are now.
He had to be early 30s.
Okay.
So,
all right.
He was the coolest, though. Not saying that in any sort of demeaning way. He's a great dude, but it was just very strange to see him all of a sudden he
is a person.
He dates, I guess.
Yeah. See, anytime you see teachers outside, I feel like when you're a kid and they see them out of context and they say hi, even being at the grocery store with my kids and they see their teachers and stuff, it's they'll be fine and normal in school. They'll talk, they just be kids. And then they see him out of context and they just blank stare what the fuck is this person doing here? And but anyway,
one of those full-scale fursuits.
Yeah. Well, speaking of full-scale fursuits, one of my first experiences seeing a teacher out of context, it was my gym teacher, and we were at the beach, and I'm about waist high because I'm a little boy, and all I can notice is just massive bush busting out of her bathing suit, and it was pretty traumatic.
I wouldn't have guessed this is where the story was going at the start.
How old are you?
I had been 8, 9. I mean, I was young and not tall enough to, not have noticed that.
Why were you so close to your teacher at the beach? Why were you close enough that this was a traumatic experience?
I don't, because she like knew my family, and then she was walking by, and it was like, oh hey, and she comes over and says hi to everyone, and it was just like, and my friend was there. He was like a year younger than me and my brother, and it was one of those like you all look at each other afterwards, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck was that? And
was this like you learning that bushes exist? Is that what it was? Like too, like adult pubic hair, that was the first experience with it or something?
It probably was. I can't recall previous experiences with adult pubic hair. Thank goodness.
Hopefully not at the tender age of 8.
Other sorts of trauma on this podcast, but like, I just, even at that point in my life, I was like, why wouldn't you do something? Like, who doesn't notice that? That's what was that stuck with me still. I mean,
there's a lot of body shaming. I'm
pop
hearing
into my
Sam
brain
right
from
now.
time to time. That's
yeah,
why I'm
wow.
about it.
Sam's expecting women to change their grooming and appearance standards to meet his prepubescent ideals of.
Go ahead, be all progressive on me right now. I'm trying to make you look like an asshole.
You're a kid.
Yeah.
And you don't know that that's coming, and it's a teacher. It's someone that you don't know in that context at all. Like,
it painted the way that I saw this person going forward. Like I never saw her again.
That's true. That is
about that.
That's information that you shouldn't have to weigh in your mind at the age of 9 when you're talking to your teacher.
the poor lady. All the ways that she touched your life, and that's what you remember her for.
Like, really? Do you still, like, could you track this person down? Same
I
hometown?
Probably could.
Like
I mean,
that?
I know. Okay. I know the name. I'm intentionally not saying it.
Oh yeah, please don't. But like when she's really elderly, you should tell her.
Yeah.
It'll mean
hey, Mrs. Smith, remember me? I remember you actually.
Here's why. Actually, I'm waiting to see. I have like pings set up for Google, so that way when she dies, I can show up at the funeral service and share that story with everybody.
Like kind of buzzed, and you just like walk up and take the mic from family members. I definitely remember that experience though, like not with a teacher obviously, but I remember going to like a race. I feel like it was at Atlanta Motor Speedway or something, and we went into the bathroom and they had the trough, which we've talked about.
Oh yeah,
disgusting trough filled with urine covered ice. And I remember just like turning, like looking down the rock, like the row, and it's busy. Like there's a
line of dicks.
Yeah, and just like hair, weird. They're huge. And just feel like, what? Huh, whoa, ah!
Yeah,
like
that's awful.
Not knowing what to think of that at all, and just being like really confused and
it looks like one of those dicks just committed a crime against you, and you have to pick one out of a lineup. You're just like,
that's bringing up repressed memories for me too, not in the bad way, fortunately. But I think my first similar experience was actually our swimming coach. So we did a community swimming league, and everyone did. There weren't like school swimming leagues. Everyone did community. And, he was like a local contractor or something. And then, his night job was being the swim coach. And we bumped into him at the local wellness center not in a swim context, right? We just bumped into him. He was there with his family doing something else. And this was my first time being in a more public locker room. And I didn't know that people walked around naked in the locker room, and here he comes out of the showers, and we're like 11 or 12. And like to him, I mean, he wasn't doing anything wrong, like this just normal locker room behavior. And to me, I was like, oh, Mr. So-and-so. Oh, all right, I gotta leave.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
You never forget the first time you see someone bend over and you simultaneously see
without
their
consent,
balls between their thighs and straight up their asshole. You never forget that.
It's the pendulum.
Yeah.
It's like the worst.
It's like in Joe Dirt when that dog gets its balls frozen to the porch.
And they're always old dudes, and they're fresh out of a hot shower. So they're like,
they put one leg up on the bench to
relaxed
put their underwear on, and you see it, just like you see him hanging, and you see the butt crack. It's
like fleshy grandfather clock.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
It is always like I don't know. I would like it's one of those things that you wonder how normal people think, because I feel
Yeah.
like I was awkward anyways. And then at being in Christian school where we didn't have showers and we didn't have a locker room or anything like that, like some of us changed in the stalls, like when we were
That
just
was
like
me.
getting down
Yep.
to our underwear for gym class. And like, I mean, you couldn't be more uncomfortable with nudity
No.
than me at preteen teen age era, and then you go into the locker room at like the swim club or something like that, and there's always just old guys, and they're just like lounging in there.
Yeah.
It's
They
like,
just don't give a shit.
yeah, like they're just letting their droopy balls air dry. Like they don't, they didn't
Right.
even bring a towel.
Conservatives are mad at Disney for like going full woke by having like 2 female characters in love in the Buzz Lightyear movie that no one cared about. But parents haven't taken this on as an issue. Like, I'm actually a little bit offended now that I'm thinking back through it. I'm like, we just have public, like all ages restrooms or locker rooms. Why is that a thing? Maybe
Yeah,
we
dude.
need a little more shame in this country.
A little more. So, I mean, I'm 34
think
and I'm pretty sure no one
Yeah.
to this day has seen my dick and balls in a public locker room. It's not going to happen.
Well, is it pretty telling that all 3 of us have experiences like that when we were way too young to have experiences like that? Like, do you think that's random?
It's because we're homeschooled. We were homeschooled in Christian school. That's why. I mean, that's the big difference. Is we were never around other nudity. Because when I started going to like high school youth group and shit, and I would see like that. It's kind of like when you go to college too. We all experienced that in college too, where there was the naked people in every dorm, right?
I didn't, because I was in the dorms that had like a bathroom inside your room.
Oh yeah, you were.
And that was one of the main
rich
reasons
kids.
was I did not want to have a communal bathroom. That was a hard no for me. Like, and I grew up in a big family where like me and my brothers have been sharing a bathroom our whole lives. I never had my own bathroom. It was mostly like, I only want to share it with a roommate or 2, not with 15 other dudes.
Yeah, for good reason. It's disgusting.
I would just want to hear from the ladies who listen to the podcast. Maybe go to the Discord. Good plug for the Discord right now. Go to the episode discussion chat. And we need to hear, is this an experience that happened to women as well? Or is it just every guy had that, like,
Pubic hair trauma?
Yeah, I feel like this is, I'm going to get a little sexist here. Women's bodies are maybe less traumatic.
I mean, I feel like that's entirely possible.
Like,
I don't know if that's just coming from our perspective or not, but I
think maybe young boys are
it's
so
like less
unaware.
intrusive.
Yeah,
young
boys are so unaware of everything. I think that's part of it. Like, of course, they haven't thought about their body. They've never thought about anybody's body before now. They're 8 years old, and society's already beating that into women.
Well, it doesn't look like the desert realm in Beetlejuice.
Where do you come up with these references, Casey? But yeah, like I don't know. For some reason, I imagine that's more of like a rough awakening for young boys than it is for young ladies.
Yeah.
Maybe. We can only wonder. I do want, like, anytime in that situation, like, being a 30-some-year-old man and going to the YMCA and you have to change into your swim trunk. You say bathing suit or swimming trunks? I say swimming trunks. I don't know.
Generally call it
I don't know.
a bathing suit.
That must be a regional thing.
It's got to be because no one calls shorts trunks generally. Like, trunks follows swimming exclusively.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no trunks. There's no just straight trunks unless you're an elephant.
Jean trunks.
My jean trunks.
Or you're one of those old guys in the restroom, just straight trunking it.
I always would have considered. I feel like I thought of trunks as like underwear anyway.
Yeah, I call them bathing trousers.
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, there's nothing more like to be a 30-some-year-old man and like hurrying as fast as you can to put your bathing suit on because you're just like scared of nudity. Like, you can't help but think like, oh, this isn't the way to be. Like, this is time, though, I should be like mentally strong enough to not feel this way or to be able to cope with it in a different way. But
I don't know. I've just gone a different direction.
Fast.
Yeah, so I've just gone a different direction of, I'm too old to change while I'm changing. Like in the locker room at the gym or something. No, I bring my clothes into the shower with me, at least like, underwear and a towel. and I wear that when I walk back to my locker. And if it's, where I know I'm out with friends or something, I'll bring a t-shirt too. Because it's out of respect for them, Like, I don't care how comfortable they are. They don't need to see this.
I'm not comfortable being shirtless. Like even like going swimming and taking my shirt off, I'm like, well.
I haven't
You still swim with a t-shirt on, Casey?
Decade.
I should. I probably should. I'm busty. It's
out of respect for others. Dude, you know what you should do? You should get one of the bathing suits that are like, they look like unitards. You should get one of those.
Like the old Donald Duck.
Iron Man. Yeah. The only time Donald Duck wears more clothes than he does on
just get a shorty wetsuit. That can be your excuse. Like the sleeveless and, short sweatsuit.
Yeah.
I had one of those when I was younger. It was great for like water sports.
Bikini cut overalls, like, that'd be fine.
You could pull off the deep scoop overalls.
The deep scoop.
That side scoop hits like mid hip.
Yeah, and one of them's unhooked.
If I can find a pair of overalls that slim through the thigh, I'll do it. I will buy them.
That's the new thing.
I want those
dude.
Levi's 511 overalls.
Yeah. I'm gonna say we should start making them, dude. That should be the first thing we offer in a store when we finally.
When you take off one shoulder, though, it's got to droop low enough on that side just to show one side of the thrust bucket. Like you just got to get a little hint.
You said thrust bucket?
The thrust bucket, yeah.
I've never heard that term.
Casey, you've heard this term, right?
No.
Oh, the V-shaped, the V-shaped muscles at the bottom of your abdominals. They cross over your hips. Not us, but like if you look at a muscular man.
Yeah, it's the old pecker trenches.
Yeah, the combatants.
Okay, everyone has a different term for it.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Sam, I think mine's more widely used, the term I used.
I don't know about that.
Must be a regional thing. Swim trunks.
We're in the thrust trenches together on this one.
Where was this conversation topic?
I don't know. It's got away from us.
Do you remember? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When I was on the swim team, I never would wear a Speedo or like the tight swim, like tight long swim shorts. I insisted on wearing board shorts, and I would just like train harder because I didn't want to have to wear the Speedo. So that was my whole pitch. It was like, I'll swim faster than everyone else. Just don't make me wear that.
I have never seen anybody swim in anything but a Speedo. That would have been funny.
I want to see video evidence of you swimming your ass off.
I was a great swimmer. Like, I won stuff. I did great.
But everyone else is in a Speedo, and you look like more of a weirdo not wearing a Speedo.
Yeah, but I was like a 14-year-old homeschooled kid. Look like more of a weirdo's not really factoring in.
Yeah, he's like walking out onto this, like near the pool, and somebody's like, "Hey, kid, the Healy competition is like next door."
I have an advantage though, Sam. I was tall, so I could get away with. I was tall and thin. I could get away with anything.
Must be nice. Must be nice. Height privilege.
I think I was 6'1.5" or something when I was 14. Like I was already decently tall.
You came out with sunscreen just coating your nose, and you're like, everyone's like, dude, you're in an indoor swimming pool.
I didn't used to wear it. I was so tan, and I know it sounds like I'm making that up, but it's true. Tall, tan, and lean, wearing my board shorts. My thighs were not tan. They were very white. They never saw the light of day.
What happened to all of us?
Do you guys remember ever going to like a youth group event? Like my buddy's youth group, every year they did like a 5-day. It was almost like Bible school for youth group age kids, but they would do like a fun event every day of the week. And then the last day of the week, it was always the lake day.
No,
you'd go out there, and one of the people had a boat, so you could go tubing, and there was a big raft, and everybody would go out and swim to the raft and stuff like that. And I was thinking about it. Do you guys remember any of the girls getting the big t-shirt punishment for their swimsuit?
Yep.
The big t-shirt, what?
So like it was always a one piece only. Like,
yeah.
Just one pieces. And I remember like his cousin Brittany one time wore like a tankini, which, you would never know that it was a 2-piece unless she's like, I don't know, doing a cartwheel or something like that. Like
Right.
it's for all intents and purposes, like it's all the same coverage as a one piece. They made her wear like this giant baggy, like an extra large men's t-shirt over top of her
Oh my
swimsuit all
God.
day.
And all those
Sam.
kids around were like, I don't even realize that that's where their love of wet t-shirt contests came from. They're like, I don't know why I love this so much. It started
Sam,
there.
did
Thank
you not
you,
see that a
Patrick.
lot? I feel like 10% of the girls at every like youth group, day when we went down to the water for like jet skiing and stuff, like because our youth group was in a town that grew up on the water too, so we did lots of events like that, not as part of a camp, just like cookouts and stuff. And I feel like 10% of the girls had to wear cover-ups for the same reasons. Like,
So in my experience, it was they always said it was always girls need to wear a one piece or a modest tankini is what they would say. It would be in the
oh wow, what
brochures
a
and
progressive
shit.
area you were
Bunch of
in.
liberal
And-
churches.
Yeah, modest. I don't know how you would. I don't know if that's defined as any sort of midriff showing, but no. I mean, there were. I think there might have been a girl or two from time to time that like probably didn't own one, so they may have worn a t-shirt, but it was kind of like an intentional move, so they didn't get stuck with this like oversized, wonky ass t-shirt. They kind of just, I don't know. It was weird. Probably, I don't recall it though. I think most people were just like had that as an option. And I do remember people talking about how it was dumb. Some people felt who were more, normal, had a more normal high school experience would be like, it's like, yeah, they go to their friends' pools on the weekends and wear whatever bathing suit they want. And they just like have their church bathing suit also. Like, it's just,
Yep.
like, it's funny because I know that those messages of shame really like hit a lot of people, but I know and knew plenty of girls that were like, they just like didn't give a shit about it. They're like, yeah, that's just church rules, but it's dumb. And it didn't seem like it affected them too much. And then there were some where, it really did. It's weird. Again, we've talked about that before, but the way that like, it's the same situation impacts people on such varying scales is always fascinating though.
I think it matters how much your parents were invested in it. Like if it's
Probably.
someone whose parents weren't coming to the church or something and just they came with a friend of theirs, it's much easier to be like, oh yeah, that's the church rules for some dumb church thing at this event that we're going to. And, their parents don't care. Their parents bought them whatever suit they wanted, as opposed to the girls who are growing up. And from the time they're like 11 or 12, that's a thing. Like as soon as they can start going to like youth group events, they start getting the lecture.
And they're like, is God going to let me into heaven now that I wore a tankini?
Yeah. Well, it's weird because then you look, it's kind of like, I had actually, it's funny. I had reached out to someone who has for one of my classes, I was trying to think of the direction I wanted to go for writing one of my papers, psychology papers. And I've reached out to someone who is getting their PhD in psychology and just like, do you know of any like research that's been done on why certain like people who grow up in religious environments, some people like just move on completely unaffected by what they were taught and other people internalized it and feel a deep sense of hurt and trauma from it. And his response was that actually is not really a lot of research on that specifically, but there is research on people who experience PTSD, like maybe people who went to war. And it's like, you have plenty of people who went to war and came back and had deep post-traumatic stress. But then there's also plenty of people who were like, saw some fucked up shit and they came back to and reacclimated to society without that same level of trauma. And so he mentioned investigating that. I hadn't really looked into it much more, but it did get my kind of gears turning in that way where you're like, oh, this is sometimes biology. There's like almost like a resilience. And that sounds, I don't know that I like that term necessarily because it sounds like some people are thick-skinned. It has like conservative vibes, but there is like almost like a natural, like some people are more naturally impervious to fucked up shit traumatizing them, and those people just maybe end up
The
more.
dude who
maybe they
shaves
end up more
women
like me.
for pubic hair is concerned about biological impervious as a term.
Okay, well,
I don't know that it rings true for me, but you do you, dog.
so in the same way that those your fellow students realized that they loved wet t-shirt contests, I found out later on that I had this huge thing for pubic hair busting out the sides of your one piece. I don't know, dude.
That's a dream you can make come true for yourself, Sam.
Yeah. It's like I'm gonna start wearing the Borat like the Borat suit and just
The sling
keep
kini.
everything homegrown down there.
I have one of those, and I've worn it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh hell
We
yeah!
went to
Dude.
Belize with some friends like a few years back, and all of us guys like ordered those ahead of time. And we get to the
Nice.
little house that we rented, and it's got like a pool, and we all came like charging out in the Borat suits and jumped in the pool. They do not stay in place very well.
I
Can't
wouldn't have
imagine.
imagined.
Yeah, it's not something you're going to play volleyball in.
It doesn't help that you guys oiled yourselves up completely beforehand.
Right. Oiled each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to get the hard to reach places.
I think with that suit, everything's easy to reach.
Yeah, you could just oil the suit and then sort of like,
Squirm
dirty
your
towel
way
it,
You know what's funny about going back to the Speedo conversation? I had your whole life, right? You go to the beach and you go like, oh my God, you see them and you're like, that's kind of ridiculous. And then I feel like I hit this outlook. I'm never going to wear one because my wife wouldn't go out in public with me, but she would think I look ridiculous in it. But I'm like, you know what? I don't have the aversion to them that I used to. And I keep seeing more and more guys wear them. And I'm like, they don't look, I mean, I kind of like them. I don't think I can pull it off, but it's like there's a mix of people who do it, right? And of course,
Olympic swimmers.
There's always a group of people in between but guys who are in good shape and look fucking great in them, and then big dudes. I've been seeing more and more big dudes in them, and you're just like, I respect it, and they just love it. I don't see a lot of just like normies like me who are like, not. They're just normies. No one's gonna notice either way. But
Is that
maybe you
something
would
you want
notice
to
if it's
change?
a Speedo and you.
Is that the direction you're going with
around
this? Like you want this to be more socially acceptable?
Yeah, I do. I think I'd fit in well in Europe is what I'm trying to say. And
Wow, interesting.
if it be more socially acceptable, I'd rock one. I'd get my thighs nice and tan. I'd be good with it.
You know who's a perfect person to ask about this is our friend and colleague, Dr. Luke Wilson.
Yeah, I know. He
'Cause-
rocks Speedos. He looks fucking
He's working that
fantastic.
Toronto Beach Club all the time in his like Facebook stories, and him and his crew, they rock some tiny swimwear.
Yeah,
So,
and they
all
look
the
great.
respect.
I know. I think that's what sucks is it's like, when you see something, like you see someone wear something and you're like, that's so cool. Then you try it on. You're like, you look like an idiot in that. You can't pull that shit off.
Yeah,
And we're talking about fedoras. Let's be
all
clear.
the time.
I mean, I think I made it most of my life wearing like, baggy shorts, cargo shorts, knee length shorts. And it was only in the last like 4 or 5 years I started wearing like mid thigh shorts, and they're so much more comfortable.
Oh,
like
yeah.
just lighter shorts that aren't for utility. They're just for comfort and style. And I'm like, this is pretty great.
Yeah, you don't have to keep your measuring tape and hammer hanging from the loops on the sides. I get,
Yeah.
you're not gonna live that carpenter life anymore.
Where do I
It's
put
nice.
my mallet, though? Get a shoulder sling. Yeah, no, I feel that way all the time. I feel that about like most any like defined men's style of dress. I look at it and I'm like, that I could lean into that. And then like I'll go to the store and try on a bunch of it. I'm like, oh no, that's not for me.
And then the effort. Another person who he's been on the podcast before. He will be on it again. I've been talking to him. We want to have him back on. Is from way back, Josh White. He was going to law school last time we talked to him. He's a whole ass lawyer now. And my God, he looks great doing it. He is the trendiest motherfucker
Dude
ever.
can wear a suit.
He can fucking wear anything. He looks so cool. So cool all the time. And I look at his outfits and I'm like, if I wouldn't even know how to put that together for one. And if I did, people would be like, dude, who are you? Why are you trying so hard? But he makes it look effortless. And I'm just rocking jeans and a t-shirt. And I'm going to do that for the rest of my life because that's just the role I've landed into. It's hard to change. When I first cut my dreads, I was like, it was hard for me to become a hat guy. I was like, then I've never worn a hat. I'm going to start wearing one. People are going to be like, oh, you're wearing a hat? I don't know why I was afraid of people pointing out.
Damn, I think you're putting a little too much stock in people looking at you wearing a baseball hat, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, I just know people are at home right now thinking about how stupid I look in a hat.
Yes. That's why I don't make moves like that. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Sam, that's not a move.
I don't branch out on stock. No. Okay.
Look, well, no, I take that back. You wear your hat at a very like precise angle, and like it definitely is part of your look. It's not just like Casey sometimes wears a hat and sometimes doesn't wear a hat, and like it feels like Casey can do either way. Well, it seems weird to me if you're not wearing a hat when I see you.
Yeah, but I went 30 years without wearing hats, so it's kind of weird.
Casey, I'm just gonna lean hard. At some point, I'm just gonna a switch is going to flip and I'm just going to lean hard into like Harley Boomer territory.
Oh, I'm waiting for that, dude.
Like the big chunky boots and the Harley jeans that cost $200.
Just no bike. You just won't have a bike though.
Right. I'll have one of those 3-wheeled ones.
Yeah.
I'm picturing you with like wraparound glasses
that people drive around.
Spike the tips of your hair, like spike your hair up, wraparounds. Little goatee.
Yeah. Like a patch on my leather vest that says, like, what should my patches say? I definitely need one that's like, you stomp my flag and I'll stomp you.
Yeah, that's okay. Like, you're leaning into it that direction.
Along with like your nickname, like in quotes or something, like Casey, the honey badger or something. I don't know. Like some weird, slightly aggressive sounding animal nickname.
The turtle.
Yeah. The turtle.
That's your spirit. We're gonna
be just like a whole bunch of really annoying, like Let's Go Brandon style patches on the front, and then on the back, like a big cross with barbed wire around it that says like, Christ Freedom Riders or something like that.
Okay, so you want to dress like a mixture of
the Christian angle,
Motley Crue and Ted Decker. Have you seen what Ted Decker looks like these days?
No.
Who's Ted
definitely
Decker?
Very famous Christian author.
Okay.
He's got like the black
shitload of books,
triangular soul patch and like the kind of Motley Crue hair. And he's definitely wearing like the screen printed shirts with the giant cross on them and the ripped jeans and the boots and like right out of 2004. He still looks like it.
I like
Ted
it.
Decker. Old Ted Decker killing the game.
Yeah. So Casey, for some of these fashions you don't think work on you, have you ever had like a tailor really tailor some stuff for your body?
I married my tailor. She has to.
Oh, that's true.
To, like sew everything that I buy.
Okay.
Like I have like a 26-inch inseam. They don't sell pants like that. Come home, I'm like, guess what? I bought pants, and she's like, "God."
Dude, I hate shopping for pants, but again, like a lot of people, these dudes these days, the Levi's, you just know your number and you roll with that. But I swear to God, dude, the last 4 pairs of pants I've bought online. I'm also a cheap piece of shit when it comes to buying clothes. So until there's like a sale and then a discount off the sale and it's like final sale, I'm like, that's when I buy. And I spend like $25-$30 on a pair of pants. So those are few and far between. So when I finally pull the trigger on it, I buy the same size waist that I always wear. And then I get them and I'm like, I can't button these. And they won't even come close. Like I'm talking like 2 inches off. And
that's a bad feeling.
It doesn't make sense because it's the exact same size as the pair that I wear every single day. And then I returned it for the next size up, a size that I have yet to be in my life. And none of the clothes in my drawer are actually that size. And they sent it to me and it fits. It still won't button. I was like, fuck this shit. I sent it back. It doesn't make sense. The measurements are supposed to be like about what it is in inches or some shit like that. But
you need to buy like button fly ones and just go up as high as you can go.
Yeah.
I need high waist. And if you got to leave it cracked at the top, like that, Christina Aguilera look. Like,
yeah,
just work that over.
And instead of a zipper, it's just when they have all the buttons, right? That was the look too around that time.
When you could have your bush exploding out through the buttons, just like
Now that I
jeans,
could see you doing that. That'd be great.
girls' jeans without the pockets on the back. That was also around that Christina Aguilera era.
All
been
that's
the-
coming back right now.
Yeah,
Isn't
I
it?
feel like that was
Fuck.
one of the least practical eras of clothes.
Yeah.
Like massive jeans that like took 6 jeans worth of fabric to sew and had a whole bunch of like non-functional giant cargo pockets. And then women's stuff was like airbrushed on and literally didn't even have pockets. Like they're both useless. They're just the opposite ends of the useless spectrum.
It was like super low rise, skinny to the knee, and then it was just like the flare on the bell bottoms was gnarly. for a
Boom.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got the designs on the pockets or no pockets, and you drive a Pontiac Grand Am.
Yeah,
Oh,
and-
wow. You know those people too?
I don't think they'll sell you those unless you drive a Pontiac.
Or a Grand Prix, you know, if things are going well in your household.
Oh,
Dude, you
yeah.
know-
Well, that's an interesting hierarchy you created there. You know, the
You know
Grand
whose
Prix is above
signature-
the Pontiac.
You know who signatured their jeans well? It was like the back pockets of American Eagle jeans. It was just like you knew if someone was wearing American Eagle jeans.
It's true. Yeah.
Bring back those days.
You
where
know what I
just saw all
love?
your clothes at the ball.
I love like I don't know exactly what they have now, but I used to like love how you'd go in Kohl's and they had like 3 or 4 different brands with like their own little section in the young men's department, and then there was Rock Republic, and it just looked like Chris Angel like farted on it. It's got like 18 zipper handles that don't do anything, and like a tribal design on it. The collar, the like corners of the collar are burnt off.
What do you
know,
think
just-
like that young
Chris-
Honduran child is thinking while they're sewing all of those on there?
Oh, you made it sad.
Capitalism's cool.
Chris Angel, that was one of those shows everyone I knew watched ironically. But speaking of Chris Angel and magicians and shit, the past couple nights, we should probably wrap up too. But the past couple nights, I found myself take an edible, and then I end up watching some magician on YouTube who reveals how to do card tricks and shit like that. And I spent way too much time, a little stoned, watching someone fucking teach me to do card tricks that I couldn't remember the next morning. But God, it was mesmerizing at the moment.
Did High Sam like understand how they worked at all, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. And if I watched it right now, I wouldn't give a shit. But when I watched it 2 nights ago, I was like, oh my God, I should fucking learn this. I should start doing these. I could learn these tricks. And because he would put so he had this one, it was like a cigarette. He would show you how to do tricks with a cigarette and things like that. And I was like, he shows the camera from behind his hands and what he's doing with it. And they're like, that's what he's doing the whole time. You never even noticed. Like, you can't see it. And then you watch it from behind and you're like, it looks like I'm being tricked watching how it's really done, because it can't be that simple, but you know it is, because magic isn't real. But it was real to me that night. I was in a special spot, and I watched about 45 minutes worth of videos on how to make a cigarette levitate and a card disappear. So, anyway, speaking of magicians,
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
they're magicians and comedians are like the same kind of people, right? They like that comparison.
I
There's
feel
some
like
crossover.
comedians will be very offended by that. Musicians will probably
yeah.
be saying yes.
Magicians, comedians, and guys that own an acoustic guitar. Like, there's some carryover in there.
So our guest this week is a really fun guy named Spencer Bland. He's a comedian from Raleigh, North Carolina. I think I said South Carolina when we talked to him a couple of times, like a dipshit. So you might notice that and be like, wow, you're not good at this. And that's fine. And I'll take that criticism. But yeah,
He's also buddies with our pal, Charles McBride. So
he is.
He's good company.
Yeah. So yeah, Spencer was a lot of fun. Super funny guy. I think he mentioned some shows that he's got coming up when we recorded the interview. But some of those probably had passed. So real quick, I'll just go ahead and throw these out for him while we're talking. If you live in Wilmington, North Carolina, or around Raleigh, North Carolina, he's got a bunch of shows coming up in August. Pretty much the fifth to the end of the month, he's going to be in doing shows in North Carolina. You'll see, we're going to link to his Instagram and shit too, so you'll see it. And then he's also doing the Portland, Maine Comedy Festival, which is cool. That's up my way. I would love to make it out. I'm going to do my best, but the dates might not work out. But it'd be really cool to go see him. Either way, so if you're in Wilmington, Raleigh, or around Portland, Maine this month, you can and should go check out his comedy.
Yeah, he's also coming to the Omaha Comedy Festival, which is sounds fun. Maybe I'll go. It's not that far from me.
No.
But yeah, he's also hosts a podcast called Bop or Flop, and it's him and one of his good friends, and they look back at like the Billboard top 10 charts from like a given date in the past, take a look at some of the songs and decide whether they bop or they flop.
Yeah.
And it's a fun show. Definitely a light listen. That's a lot of fun. So
yeah, they did a bunch of live events recently too, which looked like they were a really good time from the videos and stuff that he posted clips of.
Yeah. So I think you're going to enjoy it. He's got all of his social media and stuff is going to be in the description. So definitely go follow him, follow Bop or Flop. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to it. We're getting a bunch of those. We're getting a bunch of those. Sounds douchey. We've been
a bunch of those lately.
blessed with the Lord has blessed us with some good reviews, and it's really nice. And we thank you if you've left one of those, and if you haven't,
why
do you want God to bless you? Because you got to have faith like a mustard seed that leaves 5-star reviews. And if you want to jump in on the conversation, join our Discord. The link's on our Instagram profile, and cool place with a lot of like-minded people sharing stories, talking about their latest interactions with family members. Maybe they gave them a crazy InfoWars video for Christmas, and we'll talk about it. It's fun. Join the Discord if you're not already, and enjoy our conversation with Spencer Bland.
Hey everybody, we're back with our guest Spencer, and he was just telling us about how he forged his vaccination card.
Man, yeah, North Carolina is actually you have to renew your license every year. You have to show your forged vaccination card. Yeah.
I bet you guys have a higher percentage of them down there. Actually, I wonder how many people really forged them. Like it looked easy, but
I do wonder like what state has the highest percentage of forged vaccination cards?
Alabama.
Dude, I was gonna say it's definitely Rust Belt for sure.
And every year, like you always see that story every year that's like the most searched for porn category in each state. That state definitely has like the incest as the top list.
Yeah.
Some brother sister stuff going on there.
Just the most searched for thing on Google in general, and it's just like forged vaccination card. Yeah.
How do I? And then that's the first thing that shows up, fills it in for you. Forge my vaccination card.
How do I forge vaccination card? And then right under that, it's how do I live without you? Because people will be loving that song.
It's funny because in those states, I'm sure there wasn't a lot of stuff that came up that required you to be vaccinated. They're like, we're not going to require this, but
yeah, I can't imagine. Like maybe some colleges were like, we got to do this, or else the NCAA is going to pull our funding. But wink,
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm stoked to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I found out about you guys through a fellow bass friend of mine, Charles McBride.
Nice.
A former guest that you guys had, and then
you guys are like buddies.
Yeah, we call it our basement chat, but it's just where we share dumb socialist memes and talk about how wouldn't it be cool if our country wasn't on fire, like
right?
Yeah.
It's funny. The more time goes on, I feel like people on both sides of the aisle start to feel that way.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
a
dumpster fire.
Just different colored flames. Like,
that's cool. Did you? I can't remember if he was originally from that, or maybe you're not originally from South Carolina. Did you guys know each other in person?
Dude,
connecting online.
I met McBride in the lamest way possible, man. I met McBride at a LARP.
Nice. I was
Yeah.
gonna say the lamest. It could have been speech and debate because
Yeah. Oh, that's right. True. He was in speech and debate with Madison Cawthorn. So yeah, it could have been.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But no, I don't know if you guys talked about it at all, but McBride's brother runs like a very successful, I don't even know what the company is classified as, like a costuming company or something. But
we didn't get into that.
Oh.
yeah. And then his brother, it's called Fell and Fair, and they run a LARP every year. As you can see, I'm a huge geek with my action figures. And I went one year. And I think it was like the second or third year McBride came because he, looks like a model. So they used him as like an NPC. And what's funny is we didn't even connect. I think we maybe shared like 2 sentences together at the actual event. And then I think it was just through the sharing of different memes on Instagram. We were like, oh, you're not conservative. Tight. Let's talk. Because it's a mostly conservative crowd. I don't know if you guys know anything about LARPing.
At LARPs?
Well,
Yeah, it's a lot
I
of
would not have guessed that.
a lot of
think it's like
ex-military
LARP
dudes trying to
adjacent.
relive. Yeah, it's like
Like-
ex-military dudes trying to relive glory days. So
Oy.
yeah.
So are we
it's
talking
exactly
like
that.
foam swords and that whole deal, or is this like
100%.
Civil War reenactment?
No, this is like foam swords. But I do know that like I mean, I hope he doesn't care me sharing this. It's like they talk about it all the time. But like I think McBride, like growing up, him and his family, like they were reenactors. I think Revolutionary War, though. I don't think they were Civil War. And I think they were on the side of the British, if I can remember correctly.
Traitor.
But yeah. But yeah, I can't remember the story, but I'll shoot you guys a link. It's Fell and Fair. Honestly, it's a really cool account. They have like over 100,000 followers. They just recreate they like make their own armor. It's insane.
So you're a
That
LARPer.
is cool.
I was. I think you guys were talking about earlier in Aaron's episode about how you like would bring friends to church and they would get more into it than you did, and you were like, "Whoa, buddy, calm down." I did that with a couple of my friends with LARP. I was like, "Hey, come to this dumb like you remember how we used to like fight in the woods with sticks? It's that, but we have money now." And we would go like I went a couple years, and then 2 of my friends got really into it, like in a cool way. Like they like started businesses because of it. But I just realized like, oh, this isn't really for me. Also, a lot of like weird Nazi adjacent dudes like to do LARP, and I was just kind of like, nah, I don't want to rub elbows with these guys.
That's
Boy.
so crazy. I guess I never really thought about the affiliation of the LARPers, but the people that I do know who do it definitely don't seem like that. But I do see the connection to like, your typical incel basement dweller. So
Yeah, it was like
It's
fun.
like-
It was a fun thing to do for a couple weeks or for a couple years. And I, unfortunately sank a bunch of money into it that I will never get back. So
well, now you have Halloween costumes to
Exactly.
put on repeat.
The
Yeah.
best Halloween costumes. Yeah, it is weird. Like my wife's been in cosplay for a long time,
yeah,
and the demographics of Comic-Cons, especially people who are really, there's like families bringing their kids and it's a fun thing and stuff like that. Then there's like the diehards that have been going to Comic-Cons for 30 years and they're just angry because, these chicks in costumes don't know anything about issue 7 of Spider-Man,
yeah, dude.
It's like a split. You've got like uber liberal, like Twitter liberals on one end of the cosplay thing, and then on the other end you have like neckbeard, incel, Pepe the Frog Trumpers.
It's honestly, it's a fun blending of cultures. I did a stand-up show. The big con in Raleigh is called Galaxy Con, and at last,
It's a chain.
my buddy, really funny comic Tyler Wood. He like runs. I don't know if it's his company, but he does like a few of like cons up and down the East Coast, which sounds like a totally different line of business. But he does that, and then we did the roast of DC. So we all dressed up as DC characters, and like in my head, I'm like, okay, we're going into this room. No one knows who we are, and we're at a con where like William Shatner's here. If there's 15 people here, I'll be happy. Dude, there was like 400 people in that room.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and like my buddy Tyler, who was like, he knows that stuff. He was writing like specific article number, like, oh, did you reference this character arc from Aquaman? And I was like, I didn't know this existed, dude. So I like, it was fun, but it was very intimidating at first because I was like, oh, I got to like actually nail this or someone's going to call me out on my lore. Like,
Yeah. The worst kind of heckle.
yeah. That's factually incorrect, sir.
Yeah, there's a lot of nerd-splaining at those events.
Yeah, big time.
Nerd-splaining.
Yeah, but that's how I met McBride. But no, he's originally from Anderson, South Carolina, and I am not too far from there in Raleigh, North Carolina, born and raised.
Born and raised.
Yeah, I lived in New York City for a little bit, City of Sin, but I've been back in Raleigh for long enough that I can't remember when I moved back here. So,
was that your? What are the people who go out on their little year to go crazy and party?
Oh, Rumspringer.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't. I was definitely out of the church by that point already. But no, I went to ECU, which I don't know if y'all know anything about East Carolina University or ECU or their reputation at all. But it's a massive party school. Like when Playboy announces their top 10 party schools, it's like after number 1, they're like honorable mention, and by honorable mention, I mean no one can touch them. ECU. So. I went there, did the 5.5 year thing, and was doing comedy at the time and wanted to go try it in New York City, and then also got into copywriting, doing the Don Draper thing, and just really, really moved up to New York and just picked all the worst ways to burn out up there. So yeah, I was like, let me do comedy and one of the most vicious career choices possible. So
yeah, both of those have a bit of viciousness to them, especially
the comedy scene. There sounds like it's pretty it's balls to the wall.
Yeah,
by the
man.
Sounds of it.
It's awesome. Like you can perform 5 to 10 times a night if you want to. Like there's so many opportunities.
Oh wow!
But if you don't have like a baked in crowd, like if you don't have friends or a community up there, it is soul sucking. Like I moved up there by myself. I had a couple like friends who were non-comedy people. But yeah, I was trying to try to make friends at comedy shows in New York where like everyone's aiming for the same thing. So no one really wants to be friendly. Yeah, it was rough. I got hella depressed.
Yeah, there's got to be that level of competition of like, I mean, everyone's, especially if you're doing it regularly, like people have it on their mind to move up the rank. I don't know how, like, it's funny. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts and comedians, and every time you hear them talk about, like, you find out who came up together, right?
Yeah.
It's always like, oh, this person came up with that person. Oh, we were performing like 5 nights a week in New York together. And then you find out like,
yeah, it's awesome. Like every like famous comedian, I mean, unless they are just like undeniably funny, they have a group of like 5 to 10 people around them who either they all collectively come up or they're all like, tangentially related. Like someone's writing for a show, someone's getting late night. Like the community around it's cool. I did not have enough self-confidence the first time I was up there to even like try to make friends. So I just was like, I'll just go to mics and do it by myself and be fine. And then like a year passed and I was like, I'm depressed and I don't even do comedy anymore. What am I doing here? So
I can't imagine how brutal that is. Like I did a couple of open mics, and the thought of doing that like multiple times in a night, like night after night, God, that's tough stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like totally bombing ass and then having to get on your train and ride an hour and a half home and just just sitting at it and being like, cool, I'm gonna go home to my room that doesn't have a window.
Yeah, I imagine that brings some pretty low lows.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, I'm sure you guys have been to New York before. It's fucking amazing. It's such a fun city to visit, and it was cool living there for a little bit. But ultimately, was not for me.
Yeah, last time I was there, I went to, I forget what the name of the bar is. It's a very famous Irish pub kind of thing. That you go in, they go light or dark, and then you're picking your beer at that point. But
man, I have no idea. I was basically an alcoholic when I lived there. So
this place was right before COVID that I was there. I've told the story before, but I'll tell you. And it was like, it's this place where they just pack you in. They sit you at a table with like 8 people you've never met. It's like you're shoulder to shoulder with people. And I took, big swill of beer and choked and spit took across the table and sprayed 3 people across the table from me. And
strangers?
Complete strangers.
Oh, that rules, dude.
They hit their food. I bought them new food. Like it just was the most awful experience I've personally had with strangers, and that's seared in my brain as the last time I went to New York. I can't think of New York without being like, oh God, that was terrible.
Yeah, that's fine. Every time I think of New York, I think about the time where I was taking a train home and I had to shit so bad and I couldn't, that I literally just cried on the subway. I was just stuck in my train car, like literally sobbing into my hands. And this sweet old lady was like, "Honey, are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. I have to poop." Like she was probably expecting me to say like, "Oh, my mom died" or something. And it's like, no, I'm just nursing like a 8-pound baby right now in my colon.
Fecal impactment.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I was like, right before it, I was out because I worked in advertising, and I was like this like 315-pound like funny guy, and I was hanging out with a bunch of D1 Princeton athletes. Like my friends at the time were just like, they were guys who were out of my league, let alone the girls we were hanging out with. And we like went out, and I don't know, I think we got like roadside hot dogs or something, and I ate too many like I always do, and then we were back at his place, and I was like, I gotta shit. And I'm not gonna shit in front of these people who like, you know, they don't even like
full of tens. Come on.
Yeah, they don't even like the smell of me normally. I don't want to ruin their life. So yeah, I just like Irish exited, and I was on the train just sobbing for like an hour and a half, trying not to crap my pants.
If you did, you definitely would have fit in with some of the people who
Oh
were
yeah,
on the train.
City of Dreams, baby.
I remember one. Oh no, this was in Boston, but my buddy was riding the T, and someone flopped his dick out and just pissed all over the floor.
Yeah,
and as the train would stop and go, like the puddle would just shoot to the
dude,
go to the back. People are lifting their feet up and like yelling and shit. Like
yeah, dude, train roulette. I don't know how they were in the seats were in the Boston Metro, but in New York, like the seats had a little bit of a concave to them, and there would always just be like a mystery liquid in one of the seats.
That's how it is.
And you just try to see like if the train stopped too hard, would that mystery liquid transfer to the next seat or not? That was my entertainment in the morning.
Oh my god, city transportation, man! You can't beat it in the States, at least.
Not at all. Now I just drive a car and listen to podcasts all the time. It's very boring.
Dude, so tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
Yeah, man. So like I said, born and raised in Raleigh. I mean, like my family was religious, and the fact that like, you know, both parents, more so my mom's side, was raised like wickedly Methodist. And I say wickedly as I just mean like every like generations of the family went to the same church. Like they were deep in the Methodist church. Both from very small towns. Like one town is so small that legally it's called Washington, North Carolina, but everyone in North Carolina calls it Little Washington. It's just a tiny little town. My parents got divorced when I was like 4 or 5. I do not really remember, if I'm being honest. And like, I will say, I think one of the things that saved me from becoming like a total insane Christian in like middle school and high school is my parents never forced me to go to church, which was awesome. But I was so tight with all my other friends whose parents did force them to go to church that I just went all the time. My dad was definitely like the social Christian. Like I remember, you guys remember John Edwards, John Kerry's running mate?
Oh yeah.
John Edwards
cheated on his wife while she was dying of cancer or something. Yeah, like that.
You know, real stand-up guy, your typical Democrat. And he went to the church downtown. And my dad was like, "Hey, we're Methodist now. We're going to this Edenton." We like joined. I got like confirmed in this church just because John Edwards went to this church. Like, yeah. And
I didn't know he was such a selling point for people.
My dad just loved that status, baby. My dad was a big clout chaser. I love him to death, but you know,
you just want to be close to greatness.
Yeah. And then my mom, she was like, it wasn't atheist, but just was very like angry at God for her shaken life growing up. So like, I didn't really grow up in the church, but all of my friends were very Christian. And then my extended family was like very Christian. So anytime we would visit, any holiday, and then like growing up, it was like, I mean, as I'm sure you guys from listening, we all kind of ran in the same circles. Like, you know, youth group was just where we hung out at because my friends were so Christian. So like, you know, went to a youth group. Did you guys have FCA? Was that a thing? Fellowship of Christian Athletes?
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah, I think like
I wasn't an athlete, so that would have gone right over my head. But
yeah, it wasn't like a requirement. I don't know why it was called that. I think they had just added athlete because it was the activities you did were somewhat athletic based. Although they were like secretly horny, which was kind of weird. Like it was a lot of those games where you had to like balloon pop between like two bodies. And like, I remember one was like, you covered your face in whipped cream, and then like a girl had to like eat popcorn out of your whipped cream beard or whatever.
So
it was
horny.
like,
dude.
yeah, it was
Why is that all? We know why. It's repression, but it always happens.
But then the message would be like, all right, y'all, I bet your body's changing right now, and you want to go home and tug on that little pee-pee. Well, don't you do that, okay? Because you're gonna burn in hell. Like, it was the craziest, just like back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in like every single youth group, church possible. And then I got like really into God. What a funny way to say this. I got really into God. It was high school. Honestly, I think it was for a girl. It was 100% for a girl. Yeah. And then it ended up being legit. Like, I was like crushing on this girl. We were going to youth group. She was very serious about God. So I was like, dude, time to get serious about my man, JC.
Yeah, tale as old as time.
Yeah. What's funny is like by this point in my life, I had been saved probably like 17 times. Because I don't know about you guys, but like when you're 12 and an altar call happens, you're just kind of like, oh, this is cool. I want to go up there.
Just to be sure.
Yeah, dude, they're giving out iPod Nanos at the altar call, man. Because a couple of the churches my friends went to were like the rich churches. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm definitely going to get saved.
Oh, you're not kidding. Holy crap. That's amazing.
No, dude. I remember this church. It was called Crossroads Fellowship. And it was like, they had like a skate park out front. It was rad. It was actually, they had Reliant K come and play. That's how I found out about Reliant K.
No way. That's so sick.
That would have been in the glory days too.
Oh yeah. This was like,
Sadie Hawkins dance.
Yeah. Whatever that album is where they're like hurtling over the hurdles on their album art. Like
yeah. That's the first one I ever got from them, and that's my favorite. Marilyn Manson Ate My Girlfriend.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. But yeah, I mean, like doing all that, I got really, really, really like serious about it in high school, and like, I remember just going to like so many. Do you guys remember a guy named Greg Laurie? Was that a thing that you guys knew about? I don't know if he was just a Southeastern dude, but I went to like
I don't think so.
I think it was called like Passion Now. It was one of those like conferences. And
yeah,
it was like
with the conferences. I went to
the band. Like, yeah, okay. This band like Leland was the big.
I remember them.
Yeah, they played, and this guy gave a huge talk, and like 30,000 people came to Christ because if you raised your hand in that stadium, you accepted the Lord, and it was awesome. I mean, at the time I was like, this fucking rules, dude. And then the funniest thing I remember, I got my wisdom teeth out like literally the next day, and I was loopy when they like took me out of the slumber or whatever, and I was like trying to like save my dental technician.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, have you ever heard Christ, with like fucking gauze in my mouth, and then she like walked me to the bathroom, and she warned me. She was like, hey, you're not fully awake, you may have some trouble like telling yourself to go pee. And I was like, don't talk to me about my penis, that's sin.
I'm peeing already.
And I went in the bathroom, and I couldn't pee. And I remember I like kicked the door open. I hadn't pulled my pants up because I was still loopy. And I was like, you guys broke my penis. Yeah.
Can you help me?
Yeah. And then like I don't know, it started like maybe junior or senior year of high school. I like started like dipping toes in like charismatic Christianity. My friend. Phase. Oh yeah, dude. It was I had previous encounters with it. Like when I was in that middle school youth group, I remember my friend's dad took us to a river revival. But it was just in the parking lot of a Dick's Sporting Goods under and the river was a slip and slide. And me and my friend were 11 and we didn't know. So we kept going through the slip and slide. And our friend's dad, who was like, a little crazy, but like nice enough, he like walked up and he's like, hey, just so you guys know, you've been saved like 17 times. I think you're good. Like,
we're like, dude, with the cheap shortcuts. Wow, that's like minimum effort.
So that was the baptism. The slip and slide was like
the pulpit was at the end with like the fucking like flailing arms of the slip and slide.
They should have done it at Bass Pro Shop so you could at least go in like the carp tank,
Yeah, it's like I feel like if it was like going to like a snake healer's tent and he was using like rubber snakes or something,
just big earthworms.
Yeah, but no, I remember like it was like senior year of high school into freshman year of college. Was definitely was definitely battling a lot of depression, and my parents sent me to a Christian therapist.
Oof.
So who like just, ignored any actual problem I had and was like, no, let's just pray in front of this extremely patriotic eagle statue that I also have in my office.
Oh, that's
Um,
a nice
it was
addition.
tight. Yeah, and then so I got involved with this campus ministry. It was called Every Nation Ministries.
I've never heard of that one either.
Yeah, it's a cult. Yeah.
How'd you get connected to it? Was it just through church?
Dude, literally, I was like freshman year of college. I like went to this school. I didn't want to go there. I wanted to like go to film school in New York or like not go to college. And my dad was like, if you just go, it's where every single member of my family went to college. And they were like, if you go there, you can probably play football, because I was this giant kid. And I literally like walked on the football team and spent 2 days working out with the team. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do this at all. I was like, I am going to be a tackling dummy. Yeah. And then I think it was literally a dude on my hallway. I think he was wearing an Under Oath shirt, and we bonded over that. And then he was like, I'm going to go to this campus ministry thing tonight. And but literally both our intention was like, oh, we just want to play in the praise band. Cause like, it's just what an easy way to like get chicks, like play in the praise band, and I say get chicks knowing that is now somewhat problematic, but when I was 19 years old, that was all that I cared about. And
that's pretty much, yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. And we showed up, and it was your typical like, dude, what's up, guys? God has all brought us here for a purpose. Dude kept dropping the smoking hot wife line, that very
cool.
Yeah. It was all the like telltale signs of like, oh, this is seedy. And then like, I can't remember what their like yearly conference was called, but I went to it the first year at a church like right outside of Raleigh. I got prophesied on by this guy named I can't remember his name actually, but at the time he was like a famous prophet, which is hilarious to me that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
And
now those live on TikTok.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It was like in the leader of the church, man, it's crazy that I can't remember any of these dudes' names, but he was like, I'm gonna put my glasses back on and Google what this dude's name was, because like he also ran like a big church in New York. But yeah, this guy like prophesied over me, and it's like, you're gonna lead millions to Christ in Africa, which is hilarious, because I was like, I've never been to Africa, and since then I've never been to Africa.
They just say whatever they want.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's tarot card reading for Christians. Like he's just pulling random things out. Yeah, so that like, that gave me a fire in my belly to bring more people to Christ. And I remember I got so into God, and my dad, who like, is a Christian or not, who knows. At one time we got into an argument when I was home from college for the summer, and he called me God boy as an insult.
Whoa.
And I think that's the funniest thing. He was like, why don't you go pray about it, God boy?
Oh my God, that cuts deep.
Yeah.
The idea of a parent being the one to say that to a kid is it's wild.
So funny, dude. Yeah. And it's like, he's the one that like took me to church. So like the fact that I was going too hard for him was like, maybe I should tail back, but
I should have Darth Vadered him and be like, I am what you made me.
So did you lead millions to Christ? What's your body count? Your Christian body count? How many people did you lead?
Dude, I don't even think I saved one person. Actually, no. It's fast forward. I have baptized one Mexican child. But at the same time, it was also when I stopped believing in God, so I don't know if it counts. I never liked to think about that. I did a lot of like weird like fake prophecy and speaking in tongues, because like me and all my friends were like, oh yeah, we totally have this gift of the Spirit, even though we're all like deconstructed now. And it's funny when we talk about it, because we're all like, oh dude, we were all just faking it. Like I thought you were doing it for real, and I wanted to seem cool. It was like very pharisaical on the fact of, it's like, yeah, oh, you're doing this, I'm doing it too, it's cool. Yeah, I also have the power, it's cool. Like,
yeah, no one wanted to be the one to be like to admit that like it wasn't real, so you just kept the game going.
I was just part of this like weird campus ministry cult for like 3 years almost.
It's like when Monopoly goes on too long, but everyone just feels like they have to fucking keep playing.
They had this, I remember on the weekends they would leave the church open late, and they would call it VHOP, Victory House of Prayer, and they'd be like, don't go to the clubs, come here and pray, and like we would go do that. And it was just funny. Yeah, it was wild. So I don't know. I don't really know if I ever like brought anyone to Christ, but I mean, I was I mean, dude, I go back and look at my Facebook memories now, and I got to delete stuff.
Those are fun, aren't they?
Because my statuses are just totally unhinged. Like, what can God do for you today? Or like, good morning, everyone. Like, the blessings of the Father be upon all. Like, I talked like I was insane. Like,
I was deleting some of my for a while, and then I was like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? Like,
yeah, I'm not going to run for office. Actually, if I ran for office, it would help.
Yeah, I need this as a reminder. And every year when they come up, you're just like more and more removed from that life.
Yeah,
and that world,
I more
and
so
it's
just
like,
delete them out of embarrassment. It's just like I remember,
that's why I was doing it too. But
like my entire time, I was always living like a dual life. Like at one point I was playing bass in this praise band, but I was also rushing a fraternity in a weird, I don't know why I was doing that in my life. So there was a week where I was on the front of the paper twice, one for handing out pamphlets during a campus ministry event. And then like 3 days later, I was on a float, like visibly hammered. And my entire like Christianity path was like, get really, really on fire for God, do something, quote unquote wrong, which was either like look at porn or have sex with the girl I was dating at the time or like party, and then beat myself up for like 2 weeks after it and, come crawling back to the cross.
that is God, such dude, that's so many people's experiences. There are times that I felt so
binge holiness
about who I was, because at Liberty, dude, when we were at Liberty, they had pretty good internet blockers on the dorms. So
yeah,
there wasn't a lot of good ways around it, and this is like, it's kind of embarrassing. Also, it's sad. It's probably more sad than embarrassing, to be honest. But I remember like trying to find my way around it. My roommates were gone every single weekend.
Yeah,
and I was like trying to find something to be horny to, and it was like you can't find porn. It really was tough. I'm sure if I was smarter,
he ended up drawing his own.
Yeah. I found these stick figures smashing on YouTube, and it was amazing. No, but it was
like a W with dots on it, and he's like,
got to the point where circles turned you on. You're like,
those are nice circles. I prefer more ovals and flipped the other way, but that's fine. Circles will do. But it was like a YouTube video of somebody pole dancing in their underwear, and I ended up turning it off after like 2 minutes and like just self-loathed. I literally like hit my head against I fucking self-harmed. I like hit my head against my bunk bed like a couple of times and was like, stupid. Oh, like you're like, it's awful to think about.
It's crazy that like at the time, like that was like considered like, yeah, you should punish yourself. You're doing the right thing. Like I dated a girl.
Should I tell my RA?
Yeah. I dated a girl senior year of high school into freshman year of college, and like we took each other's, V cards and all that stuff. And like we would have sex and then we would immediately start crying. And then I would go punch myself in the balls because I was like, I have to teach myself that this is not okay. And I say that now as a 32-year-old, and I'm like, that's fucking dumb, dude. That's not okay. Like, that's insane. Like if I don't have kids. I have a nephew. If my nephew comes to me in 10 years and he's like, hey, I think I got my girlfriend pregnant, and also I punched myself in the balls 6 times, I would be like, dude, go to therapy. What's wrong with you? Like, go to therapy.
Yeah, it's wild. I know that I obviously wasn't the only person in my dorm doing that, but it's just to think back on that cycle. Like it wasn't like, here's a few times. It's like that constant cycle, like with you and your girlfriend. It's like, it's so out of control, but it shows you how bad the message is, right? Like, because it's not like you stopped. The message was never enough to make people stop. It just was enough to make them fucking hate themselves.
And nobody really talked openly about it either. So like you didn't realize that everybody around you was having the same trouble. And then you'd have like a 3-week period where you were pretty good. And then after that, it's like every week. And you're like remembering that 3-week period. Like one time we had a pretty good run. I think we can do it again.
There was one guy in our like he went to I think he went to like the local community college, and he went to a different church, but he was like somehow related to our group just through like, I think like praise band stuff, because it was such a small town where we went to college. And I remember his Facebook statuses would be like, Lord, forgive me, I sinned and masturbated again. And we'd be like, whoa, dude.
Oh, jeez. Oversharing. Oversharing.
Don't put it on Facebook, man. Like, just insane stuff. But yeah, I mean, the message is always like, hey, don't sin, but if you do, you'll be forgiven. And then like, I mean, it's just like regular college design. Like my buddy and I, he's about to have a kid, and like he was in my wedding, and we talk about this all the time. But it's like, dude, we could have had like way more fun in college if we didn't get involved in this. And like, I had a strong party face. Like my final 2 years of college, I was in a folk band. I was going nuts. Like, but like, I think of the first 3 because I was on the 5-year plan. Like, I could have had such a regular college experience, but instead, I just happened to go to the wrong campus ministry, and I was depressed and impressionable. And then I just ended up just like, dude, I almost dropped out of college, went to an unaccredited seminary that this cult was running, and gave them like almost gave them $15,000 to become like, a pastor in their section. Thank God I didn't, but I have not friends. I have people that I know on Facebook who did that. And it's like, it's crazy. I'm like, dude, and it's funny too, because I have friends who, oh yeah. And I have friends who like, I'd say, let's say if there were 100 people in that ministry, there's like, let's say, oh fuck, I'm not good at math. I was an English major.
And you weren't good at that either, were you? No,
not really, man. If there's 100 people in that ministry, I only talked to like 25 of them, and of those 25, like maybe 2, I'd say, are still like involved, quote unquote. Yeah, and it's funny because we've all deconstructed, and like a few of them have like gone hard off the deep end. Like one girl like converted to Mormonism and then deconverted to that, and then came out, and I think she's like a boudoir dancer in New York now, which is awesome. It's cool, but it was such a journey to get there from the repression that was put on you from this thing.
Yeah,
and it's funny because like I remember when we all found out that it wasn't, when it like we all had our feelings. We're like, oh, this is kind of sketchy. They're like taking money from us, and they're like really controlling. Like there were times where like I, myself or like someone else in the ministry, we met with the head pastor like once a week, like by themselves. You would buy them lunch because they lived on donations from the church, and we had to support them. And like you'd be like, hey, so like I've been courting, which is stupid that you had to talk like this. You're like, I've been courting, Tori for a few months, and I think we're ready to like become and get into a relationship. And the guy would be like, he would literally be like, oh no, I don't think God is telling me to tell you to do that. Like it was just like,
okay,
yeah, like absolutely insane stuff like that. And then like the big thing that like really was like the massive red flag is they had this thing called the Purple Book, and they were so big on like, you got to get people to buy the Purple Book, and it was like their devotional, but it didn't really talk about Jesus. Like it did, obviously, because you can't be like Christian and not talk about Jesus, but it more so talked about like the pastors and how like profound and powerful they were, and like the meaningful, like the importance of like gifts of the Spirit and like being on fire with the Holy Spirit and stuff like that. And I remember we were just kind of all like, hey, shouldn't this like talk about stuff from the Bible more, and like not these 3 guys who are humans? Like,
so this was literally like about these guys that you were directly involved in, not just like pastors in general within the organization.
Yeah, it was so like these guys were like, I mean, let's look at it as a pyramid scheme. These pastors who ran our thing were probably like tier 3 or tier 2, and the Purple Book talked about like the guys up top who were like tier 1, and I can't remember their fucking name to save my life, probably out of trauma and just blasting it out of there. But like, I remember one of our friends Googled their name, and we found out that like basically these guys in the late 80s were doing the exact same thing. And like the governing body that like oversees Christian campus ministries was like, hey guys, this is a cult. You can't do this. So we're going to force you to disband, and you can't run a ministry for 10 years. And then those 10 years came up, and they literally were just like, we're back, baby, doing the same thing, different name, same dudes, same thing. And everyone was like, yeah, we believe you. All right, cool. Keep on doing it, brother. All for the kingdom.
And it's campus. What is it now?
It was called Every Nation Ministries. I would imagine. I wonder if they've changed their name at all.
Oh, guaranteed.
After multiple controversies and
well, they changed it from whatever the name was. Every Nation Ministries. They were based in Tennessee. Yeah, they're still based in Brentwood, Tennessee. I can't remember like
these
been,
groups, they shift around so much. Like they hit a dead end with one name and then they shift in a different direction. They're just like MSMs in that way. Like the you go from selling like Mona V berry juice to like boom, you're an Advocare now, and all of a sudden you're selling monogrammed ping pong balls or something like that.
Yeah, and it was like I could draw a picture of the guy, but I can't remember what his name was. It was maybe Greg something, but basically we all went on this mission trip to like Baja California or like Mexico or whatever. And we were literally like first day we were having the morning prayer, and this dude, I remember his name was Nick Jones, who was like, that tier 3 guy.
Nick Jonas? No.
That'd be tight. No, this guy looked like if he ate 3 Nick Jonases. And he was praying in tongues, and it literally, like, I don't know if this was God or what, but something hit me, and it was like, this is not right. Like, this does not. At the time, I probably would have said something like, "This is not of God," But we were there for 10 days, so I literally spent 10 days, and I was like, I'm just gonna like, minister to these people, but just like in a personal way. Like, I'm not gonna try to tell them about God. I'm just gonna like be human to them.
What day was it that you were like, oh, weird?
It was like day one. Like we were waking up for breakfast, eating breakfast, and like he was debriefing us on like how many purple books we had to give out that day.
Oh my god! How old were you at this point? I was
20. College? I was 19 or 20.
Kind of in between college and.
No, I was in college. So yeah, this was the college ministry I was part of. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think this was over like spring break or something. And yeah, I had like a huge mental breakdown for like those 10 days. It was just me. Like literally, like I went off by myself because I knew how to speak enough Spanish to like not get killed. And I just went off and like hung out with these dudes and like played soccer with them and like met his kids. And then like he introduced me to the rest of his community. And like it was great. Like it was funny because at the end of the week, one of the guys came out to me and was like, "Hey, I want you to baptize my kid." And I straight up was like, "Oh, dude, no, I don't know if you want me to do that." And he was like, No, like he wants you to do it. I was like, all right, sure. Like, I don't know if it means anything because I don't know what I believe in anymore, but
hold him down for way too long.
Yeah. But it was like, it was crazy. Like I remember there was this woman who was in she was handicapped. She was in a wheelchair and she had a huge like dent in her head. Cause apparently when she was a kid, like a car had like backed over her or something.
Holy shit.
And they were like, all these girls were like laying their hands on her and they're like, the Lord's going to make you walk again. And she in Spanish was like, it's really hot. And they were like, yeah, that's the fire of the spirit. And it was like, no, they were like rubbing their hands on her legs and like on her body. And she was like trying to tell them like, you are literally causing friction to my body and burning it. And then they were like, I just remember this girl being like, and the Lord said, walk, and like yanked this woman out of her chair. And she just like, she literally took like one stumble forward and like, her leg caught her and then she fell forward. No one went to help her. And they were like, praise God, she walked. Like it was just
Oh, wow.
Dude, it was
crazy.
The biggest crock of shit. Like,
I can't believe they actually said she walked. Dude, talk about confirmation bias at its finest. Dude. Like, if I put you down a flight of stairs, that was you walking. Perfect. Amen. You took 15 steps.
If only your faith could have sustained you for a few more steps so you could sit back down.
I like tore ligaments in my ankle, quote unquote. I just had a bad ankle sprain when we were playing like church basketball one time. Went to the hospital to get an x-ray. They were like, yeah, keep off it for a few days. Later that night, I'm on pain meds, by the way. And everyone's like laying hands on it. They're like, no, dude, you're going to walk. You're going to walk. And like, yeah, I walked because it was a medium grade sprain. It wasn't that bad. And they're like, dude, God healed your ankle. I still have a wonky ankle like to this day. Like, yeah, it was massive confirmation bias. So I got out of that. And it took a lot of Googling and figuring out like, okay, do I believe in any of this stuff? And then I actually like started to, research like, what does the Bible say about prophecy and speaking in tongues and all this stuff? And I was like, oh, we followed 0 of those rules or any of that doctrine.
Someone needs to interpret them. That's the one thing that always stuck out to me. Is hilarious because anyone could just stand
0 interpreter, dude.
Here's what I think this means. Like, so someone speaks gibberish and has no idea what they're saying, and somebody else gets to go, don't worry, guys. I know what God's telling us.
Yeah, dude. And it was just like, what's funny is like, it was just a bunch of like kids who wanted to feel some sense of community. And like, we were all depressed or bullied or in some kind of way. And we just wanted to like feel important. And like these guys empowered us just enough to make us feel important, but also fuck us up for
Yeah,
a while.
when you're
Well,
just like,
that's
Go
the
ahead,
cult thing.
yeah,
That's what cults like. That's legitimately like how they end up with a loyal following. And
Oh yeah,
I forget, it was like a year or two ago. I forget which streaming service, but they put out a documentary series. It was like a 2-part series on Heaven's Gate,
yeah,
and talked to a bunch of people who were in it. And that is like 100% what they described it, which is crazy because I think there's all of us have had a time when like we would have been vulnerable to that. It's like, no one likes me. I don't feel any sense of community. I don't feel like I have any friends. I have no prospects, no hope of like a better future. I'm
yeah.
just stuck. And all of a sudden this group comes along and they're like, hey, you're special, and
Dude.
we've got a place for you, and you have a higher calling. All these people that you feel insecure about over here, like you feel like you're not as good as them, and you feel worried when you're in their presence. You're actually more important than them.
Yeah.
You have a higher calling than them, and we're going to help you find it. You just need to do all these things that we tell you to do, and give us all your money, please. Thank you.
And then when you try to leave, we're going to bully you into staying. And then when you finally do leave, we're going to discredit you on all our social media channels. Like,
yeah.
That's a new one.
The promise
Yeah.
of power too, of like, because I had a stint in a charismatic group after growing up in a non-denominational church, the kind that didn't do any charismatic stuff. I was always taught that stuff wasn't right. So maybe you could factor that into like my original rebellion. Like that was my probably natural exit from
Yeah.
evangelicalism, was like, oh, that's the stuff that's not right. So once I started hanging out with people who are all about it, it was like, well, I love this person and I trust them. And they
Yeah.
told me that they prayed for this person and they felt that warm feeling in their leg and then they were better. And I heard
Yep.
those stories over and over and over again. I never witnessed them for myself, but so I'm like, is it me? Like they're witnessing them. They're telling me they're seeing these things. What? But I haven't. And I think I stuck around to see it. And then after not seeing it and only hearing about it for so long, and it makes it tough because I still trust that the people who told me that believe what they're saying, and some of them are still deeply in that world. A couple of them
Oh, dude.
are pastors at Elevation Church now.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm like,
wait. Because I know that's out of Charlotte.
Yeah.
But is that okay? I didn't know. Is that like, man, is that expanded to be like out of North Carolina?
it's they have a bunch of campuses.
That's
but
crazy.
I think it is
Multiple of
Charlotte
them are?
area.
Yeah, they're out of Charlotte. It's like it's the pastor who has like multiple $1 million homes and wears like
Furtick.
10,000. Yeah, Stephen Furtick.
And a
There's
lot of
a,
sex abuse
yeah.
accusations.
He actually so far he doesn't have. He's got other controversies, but none
Yeah, he
of them
doesn't
of
have
a
anything
sexual nature
sexually.
yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The,
I just was like, oh, these people. I don't know. It just I wanted to see it, and then I would hear about it so much, and I don't know what they saw. I have to believe that they saw something, or they thought they saw something. But I got to a point where it's like I can't keep up with this. It's not.
yeah.
It just feels. It feels like that's what I'm living for now. Like just that confirmation. Like, is my life about just trying to constantly confirm what I believe, or is it fucking living something and doing something instead of
Yeah,
waiting for that?
I just got tired of like just being told like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, have to do it this way, Yeah, it was, Casey, you'd mentioned like the cult thing and finding impressionable people, like going to their like mega event, which was like I think in the fall. It was like you walked. This is gonna sound so mean, but you walk, and I say this, I'm one of these people. You walk into this giant mega church, and you're like, oh, there's just a bunch of fucking losers in here. Like, there's not one person who you're like, oh, this guy is a leader. Like, it was all a bunch of people who were like, oh, you're impressionable too. It was a bunch of people who had just been taken advantage of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because like for me, the way I got into it was through music, and that's probably why I like the Aaron Lunsford episode so much, because like I was the Christian scene kid. I loved Under Oath. I loved As Cities Burn. All these dudes, all these Christian bands were like, I was like, hold on, I'm angry, and the noises they are making sound angry, but they also have a good message behind it. Like, so like me and all my friends bonded over that because we were all like, we were little scene kids who loved that music. And it's crazy because I got out of that church, and like I had like a few months where I wasn't involved in one, and then bumped right back into this other, like they said they're non-denominational, but they were an Acts 29 church.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, what does that mean? Because that's
Mark
a
Driscoll
term
was
that's
part
come
of
up
that.
several times.
So Mark, you got it, dude.
I don't have a lot more to say. Mark Driscoll was part of it, but I think he eventually bowed. I can't remember what there was.
Oh no, he got kicked out.
Yeah, that's what it was. He got kicked out of it because
he had some
fucking asshole.
Yeah, it was another one of those things. It was very controlling. They actually wouldn't. I got involved in that, and then I at the same time did Young Life for like 3 weeks. And this gets us caught up to where I said I was in that folk band for a little bit. I was in Young Life. I was 21. I was legally allowed to drink. I was we were like at a gig playing, and I had
they had groups for people who were older too.
No, so it was like if you were in college, you had a group, like a small group, but then you would go and minister to high school kids.
Okay.
But the whole thing
that's very big around here. There's like a bunch of Young Life groups here that are a big deal. They seem like they do nice things around here.
Like it was fine when I was in it. The thing that it was just very hypocritical. Like everyone was like smoking weed and fucking each other, which is like, that's fine. That's hell yeah, that's college. So you should be doing. But like if you did like one bad thing, like if you let that leak into public, game over. So like I was at a gig and I was drinking a beer on stage, and they're like, "Oh, we have to kick you out. It's a bad witness." I was like, I'm 21. What are you talking about? Like they're like, "Oh, you can't drink." Very, very like anti-drinking, which is funny because like we would play water pong at like our events. Like
it's so weird. When I was in, I might have been 18 or something like that, but I knew someone who did stuff with Young Life, and my parents are always like, I don't know about Young Life because it's not as my impression of it was it's not as overtly Christian. It's like, let's try to like engage people in a more normal way. So it's outside of church and people feel like they can do it without going to youth group. And my parents didn't love that, I guess. But I think what you're saying about people just like, it's young college kids drinking, partying, smoking, whatever.
It's youth group for cool kids.
Like that was what I remember my mom mentioning. It was like, I don't know about all the leaders there. Like, I don't know that I want my kids involved with it. And I'm like, the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, it was just it. I get what it was trying to do, and it seems like it's like cool. And maybe I don't know where you are, Casey, when everyone's a little more straight laced. But what you're saying is what I remember being, even the way that my mom was like described it to me, like why she might have issues with it in some way.
Yeah.
I think it's like training. It's like setting you up to go into politics where, you can have artwork of dead kids on your wall, but then make a big deal out of taking children to drag shows.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, actually it's a very like undercover Republican organization too.
Is it?
Yeah, Young Life is big time. They're like mega anti-LGBT, all that stuff. Like, I mean, any big Christian organization, you literally pull one layer off the onion and you're like, oh, this thing's rotten. We're not even at the core yet. Like,
yeah.
They do. Yeah. So I did that for like a brief stint. And I remember I actually got asked to not come back to the church because I was meeting with the pastor. I had been dating a girl at the time for like 2 years. And, we were just like shooting the shit. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go, back home and house sit for my sister this weekend, and the girl that I'm dating is going to be there too. And he was like, hold on, you're going to be staying in the same house by yourself with your girlfriend? I was like, yeah, dude, we've been together for 2 years. Like, of course. He's like, are you going to sleep in the same bed? I was like, 100%, man. Yeah.
I like your lack of shame.
Yeah, at this point, like I was over. I had moved past all of that. This was like I was deep into my party phase. Like I still held Christian beliefs, but I was deconstructed enough to where I was like, God's not going to care if I drink alcohol or have sex with my girlfriend. Like, I mean, that's, belief differences aside, but and he was just like, have you guys had premarital sex? And I was like, multiple times a week, my guy. Like we are we're staying in it. And yeah, he literally got up and left. And I remember I got an email from him and the pastor, and they're like, you can't come back.
He had to go confide in the pastor that you were not living the way you should.
I don't think that's what he did. I think he ran to the bathroom and jerked off real quick, and then
probably, dude. Yeah.
And then he confessed that to the pastor.
He's like, listen, Spencer was talking about some really hot stuff.
He's like, I'm so jealous. And then he started thinking, and it wasn't about his wife, and he felt real bad about it afterwards.
I just can't quit thinking about Spencer thrusting.
Yeah, and that was like my last real like foray into any sort of like church organization. I remember the first time I moved back from New York in 2014. I went to church one time with a buddy in Raleigh, and it wasn't mega church level, but there was maybe like 300-400 people there. And I remember the guy, the head pastor, was up on stage, and he was like holding the Bible, and he's like, "We will not let the homo agenda dictate how we love Christ." And I just got like Uber had just started, and I was like, I'll talk to you guys never again. Goodbye. Like I just literally I walked out in the middle of the thing. I literally never talked to those friends again.
Those talking points are always funny because like they aren't, and no one cares, and no one there is gay. And if they are, they had already left, or they're 14 and probably going to struggle with serious mental health issues later. But like that,
funny thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
I was like, my thing is like, and I said this, a few days ago when this abortion ruling happened, and I was like,
what
look,
abortion ruling?
Exactly. Yeah. We're all very happy about it. No, but I put a thing up, and I was like, if Jesus came back today, he would ride a bike, and Tucker Carlson would call him a gay liberal on national TV, and everyone would be like, yeah, dude, he's right. Because like, it's just we're so far removed from anything Jesus actually said or did that it's,
yeah.
I mean, it's funny. Like I remember seeing it a while ago, but people were throwing out the term, and I'm sure y'all have heard it, but it's called y'all Qaeda.
No.
This is new to me.
Referring to like alt-right, like, super, super conservative Christianity, calling it y'all Qaeda, because it's just, you're just making shit up. Like, it's like, have you ever read the Bible? There's no way that Jesus would be down with any of this stuff. And I'm like, I say that I don't classify myself a Christian anymore. The things that I still believe in God. I can't go full on atheist. But like, I've traveled too much and talked to people of other religions to be like, oh yeah, I'm the right one. Like, and it's just nuts
sometimes.
But I've read so many different translations of the Bible. I mean, I don't know. Did you guys ever read The Message?
Yeah. Well,
no.
Not a lot.
Oh, dude.
But The Message, that was one that my youth pastor gave. So I gave to a friend who I was bringing to youth group. It doesn't really count now because he's out. But that was the one friend I brought to Christ.
Hell yeah.
And my youth pastor gave him The Message.
Oh, dude, actually, let me check the score. Yeah, man, you're going to get a nice villa in heaven for that.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a hot tub? Because my back hurts, and I would love it.
There's not a hot tub, but it is a whirlpool tub in the house.
Well, the jets will do, as long as they have good water pressure, I guess.
I don't know where I stand, because I don't remember actually leading anyone to Christ, but, I did give a little Mexican kid my Timex watch when we were in Mexico.
There you go.
On a missions trip.
I think it counts.
I don't know. Does that give me anything?
Your witness was so pure, though. The amount of people you don't know, you planted so many seeds, bro.
Yeah, dude.
There's so many people who worship Christ because of you.
Dude, I just want to rent a room from Sam in heaven. That's all I want.
I just
you can sleep on my couch. I want you to sleep on my heaven couch.
You're allowed to sleep on his couch, and we can get you a golf cart, but that's it.
Because I'm
sold. I'm good with that.
I have so much property. You need to use the golf cart to get around.
Yeah.
I just don't have a hot tub. I don't have a hot tub.
You got like a Jamestown campus.
Yeah.
Oh man, I totally lost track of what I was even talking about.
Yeah.
Y'all Qaeda.
Yeah, y'all Qaeda.
Yeah. That's it.
I do wonder. It is like weird to think about. Sometimes I sit and think about like the strange questions that I had and the disagreements that I had with certain things. I remember at one point somebody bought me that book, Jesus Freaks.
Dude. Oh my god, that was the Martyr book, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
and it was pretty dark. I mean, it was basically just story after story of people getting like murdered for their beliefs. You know, I'm sure they were all true.
That'd make a good
And
murder podcast.
It
Just read those stories.
The Jesus Freaks recounting podcast.
Yeah, I wonder what
I'm
the
thinking about
embellishment
that.
level on those were.
I don't know. I mean, maybe there wasn't any, but you know, like I remember going to my pastor, one of the few times that I ever like seriously went for outside advice on something that I didn't understand. And I remember going and talking to him and being like, "Hey, pastor, I'm like reading this book and all of these stories where like, you know, the guy he's getting cornered by these government officials and they ask him if he's hiding this or that, and he just like tells them and they end up killing his family because he doesn't want to tell a lie. I'm like, I don't get this. I really don't get this. Like, why didn't he lie? Why didn't he try to save his family or get them out? Like, I just had I really didn't know what to do with the whole concept of martyrdom.
He was like, you can't lie to save your family, but you can buy a gun and shoot anyone that comes on your property to protect your family from the enemies.
See, that's what I was looking for.
It makes sense in my head.
Yeah. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for like that's a misinterpretation of what Jesus would have wanted you to, to protect yourself and your family.
Jesus supports stand your ground laws. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear. I mean, not even joking. That's what I wanted to hear. I was like, this doesn't compute for me because the idea of martyrdom to me is dumb and weak.
Out.
Yeah. Tell me this guy didn't go out swinging? What?
Yeah, it just totally didn't compute, and he didn't have a real good answer for me. He kind of beat around the bush a little bit, and I think he just didn't know what to do with the question. I mean, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But our worldview was like, it was like conservative Republican worldview, and it had just like if you put Christianity into like one of those little Mio bottles and just like gave it a 1 second squeeze, that's what it actually came down to. It was like that much Bible injected into, we got a couple of the rules out of there about like, don't have sex, don't swear, don't watch, rated R movies, but the rest of it, like, totally incompatible with the character of Jesus and who we were probably supposed to emulate and be.
Yeah, when I actually like got away from like the organized church, and I remember the Bible that I bought. It was called the Green Bible, and the whole stance on it was
so
like
many different color Bibles, dude. Purple.
I know, dude.
Green.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I don't read at all anymore. But there was a hot minute where I was doing a lot of reading. But the whole thing, it was what does Jesus say about nature? But I mean, it wasn't like, I think it was like the NIV translation, but it just had
the not inspired version.
Yeah. Instead of Jesus's words highlighted in red in the New Testament, it was just anytime nature is mentioned in the Bible, it's highlighted in green. And I was like, that's cool. And I'm not even that much of a hippie. I just wanted to see like, what's a different take on this? But I read it.
Dope, dude.
It was pretty great. And I read it like not for the nature thing. I just wanted a different, focus. But like reading through it, I was like, no church I've been a part of has done this. And by this, I mean like the teachings of Christ or like any of the actual like quote unquote laws or like, however you view the old covenant versus the new covenant, all that stuff. Like no one was teaching that. It was all, from what I gathered, loose things like sex, masturbation, porn, which like it was like a weird, every church I've been a part of just had a weird focus on sex and like sexual impropriety.
100%.
Yeah, and then it was like a little bit of like, if you like, be a good person, but only if they're
elevated to the worst of things, and it was the most prevalent thing that you can find in the Bible. Like everyone was doing it with multiple people all the time. Yeah, that's the one they got hung up on.
Yeah, it was so weird, funny. Man.
I always think about it as just like your youth group leaders were scared parents. Like that's 100% of whoever, anybody who helped out with the youth group when I was a kid. And it was like they were so worried about their kid going off on a path that was destructive or something like that, that became the entire focus of it. Like there was so little about like, what does it mean to actually like be a good person? Like how do you be a good friend to the people around you? Like there was nothing about that. It was all just came down to like, here's the doctrine that we believe point by point by point on all of these different things and the Trinity and the,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. And here's a list of rules that you have to obey if you want to live a good life, please Christ, and not end up a failure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. And then like just taking like one step away from that and just reading it for myself, I was just like, oh, I believe in so many different things than this. And and it's funny because like the way that I like want to treat people now and the way that I, like in regards to homelessness and like stuff like that, because that's a big thing that I like. I no questions asked. If I see a homeless person, if I've got money or anything, I'm just like, just take it, dude. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're going to spend it on drugs? Like, I hope it is. I hope you are. It's hot as shit outside. Get high. Like, like I didn't learn any of that. I mean, some of it I learned from the Bible because like looking at, God, was it Jesus touching the leper and like the good Samaritan, all these parables and stuff like that we like never actually learned in church. But then when I read them, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, like Jesus was a good person. And like we never actually talked about that. It was just only about like financial stability, sexual impropriety, burning in hell. A lot of leaning into the burning in hell kind of thing. And then like, other religions are wrong. And it really like I kind of mentioned it. Like my thing is, and I think you guys have kind of touched on this in a few episodes. Like it's so hard to like let go of any Christian values that I was raised with because it was such a big part of my life. I mean, even though my parents weren't that religious, I went to a Christian summer camp for 6 weeks every summer. Like we literally had Bible study 2 times a day and sang praise.
6 weeks.
Yeah, dude. My parents got divorced when I was like 5, and my sister was a few years older than me, so she could like they were able, like I think she went to 1 year, but she was old enough to like do her own thing. They were like, let's send the kid off to the mountains, like because I was a crazy kid, and I think the first time I went for like 2 weeks, but then I loved it. Like some of my best friends were from there, and I ended up just being like, hey, I'm gonna go for like. Some years it would be like 3, but yeah, my longest stay was like 6 weeks, and it was an overnight camp. It was like 4 hours away from where I lived. It was great, and the cool thing about it was it was international, so I got to meet all these people from every other part of the world.
That is cool.
And while it was a Christian camp and everyone was Christian there, like just hearing about other cultures, like that's how I found out about fucking soccer, because like MLS existed, but no one cared about the MLS in the early 2000s. Like, yeah, and then like so like Christianity. Especially living in the South. I mean, I don't know what it was for you guys growing up, but like it's everywhere. I mean, I even remember when I was dating, one of the questions most people would ask, like, "Oh, what church are you a part of?" And like, it's not that's not as prevalent now, but like in the mid 2000s, it was nuts. I mean, it was totally normal to go to a concert and like get punched in the face by a dude, and then 30 seconds later, then be like, "What's up? We're bludgeoning yourself to death, and we play for Christ." Like,
yeah. Dude, especially where your area, it's even more culturally Christian than a lot. Like South Carolina, so culturally Christian.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I'm in North Carolina, but it's the same way. The Carolinas, yeah. I mean, just when I lived in New York, like I would meet Christians in New York, and I would be like, "You're nothing like how like people up where I'm from would think you're a heathen." Like my family, I'd say my mom's side extended family, I don't really fuck with them that much because they're big Trump people, but like they are culturally Christian. Like, dude, they raise hell, they drink, they party, but like, dude, if you're gay, you're burning in hell according to them. Like it is, and it's
bizarre.
It's so weird to me, man. And it's like it's crazy too because it's one of those things where like growing up, I loved these people. And I mean, I still do love them, but like I was friends with a lot of these people growing up. And now, and as I'm sure it's happened with you guys, I've ended or lost a lot of friendships based on beliefs now. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, just go to another country where Christianity is not the main religion. And like, tell me that we're wrong. Like this is such a cliche white dude thing, but like I went to India for a month in 2017. Not as like a vision quest. I literally went for a coworker's wedding, and the company I was working for funded it. And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna screw off."
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, "I'm gonna screw off in India for 24 days." And just like driving around and like seeing these amazing, palaces and temples and all these things built to like multiple different religions that dates way before the times of Christ. I'm just like, I'm not going to walk up in here and be like, yeah, you're fucking wrong, dude.
What's funny about like thinking back on the church days and stuff is one thing that I'm a big believer in, and that I constantly like try to remind myself of, is that like nobody remembers the things that you say. They remember the way that you made them feel.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And there was some crappy people in my church and in my school and stuff like that, but there was a lot of really good people that had really interesting life experience and stuff like that. And especially when you first leave Christianity, like all that you remember is how they made you feel, like the things that they said that you took in a really negative way and felt like you deserved it and stuff like that. And it kind of overshadows a lot of the good things that happen in those environments too. And I think it takes like a little bit of distance for you to really appreciate like how good, like there was a guy that was kind of like my youth leader for a few years. He was a great big guy. I think he's still alive. I'm not sure, but he was a linebacker for the Steelers. Like,
holy shit.
Back in the leather helmet days or something like that. But Mr. A is what we called him. And he was such a good dude. Like, he was such a good dude. And he had like all these great stories. And I remember he really like spent some time with me and stuff after youth group and things. And he was kind of interested in some of the same things that I was. I remember one time he gave me like I was really into like outdoor stuff and hunting and things as a kid.
Yeah.
And he gave me like this old shotgun, which
and
was
now it's hanging behind you.
Right. It was one just like that, actually. I'm sure sounds really ominous and scary. It wasn't. It was, an old gun.
I get it. It's touching. Yeah.
But it's easy to like look back, and like what I remember most is like a time when we were on a youth trip, and he flipped out at us for like making a ruckus in the room and like kind of acting up and stuff. Like, we were just excited to be away from home and stuff. And I remember he like lost his mind at this youth retreat thing. And it's like, God, that's
burned.
You think about so many people that you had in your life at that time that were really good. And like, it's hard to remember things outside of like the sermon that they taught about like not listening to secular bands or not watching certain TV shows, or how you shouldn't date until you're out of college because it's only for getting, finding a marriage partner, and you can't get married right now anyways. So it's a waste of time. You're exposing yourself to temptation needlessly. It's too bad.
Those women on your wedding night.
Yeah.
Right. It's too bad because like there was so many good things in there that are overshadowed by this stupid stuff that you have to wonder, like, did they really believe it to the extent that they represented it? Or did they feel like they had to, whether it was other parents that were putting pressure on them, or this curriculum that they were supposed to teach, or just this like overwhelming sense of responsibility, like I've got to impart some values on these kids or else they're going to end up in terrible situations.
Yeah, like were they just doing a job?
Right.
Yeah. I never like, there's, out of all of my animosity that I feel towards the organization that I refer to as the church, there's not really a person that I'm like, man, fuck that guy or girl. Because at the same time, it's like now that I'm maybe 10 years ago I may have felt that way, but now it's like I feel the exact same way, where I'm like, they were just doing a job, or they were doing at the time what they felt was right. There's like one dude who, if I see in public, I'll tell him off pretty severely, and that's like the only guy.
Ooh,
everyone else
do?
And what's his name?
If it's not a big deal, I'll tell it. It's actually funny. I didn't realize. I I say that, and I did see him in public one time, and he was ministering to kids, and he was like a few tables behind me at a coffee shop, and I could hear the kids reacting, and I was just like, ah, shit, like he's doing it again, because he's since moved to where I live, and then he actually left. The kids paid for his meal, of course, and I just went over to those kids afterwards, and I was just like, hey, he used to teach me, and I just talked to them for like 10 minutes. Didn't get through to him at all. I could tell that they were very much entrenched, and they were like, we're being tempted by the devil right now, But I was like, I did my justice, But the fact
they'll remember that someday when they're ready for it.
Yeah, but that's actually what like pissed me off enough to be like, oh, he's still doing this shit. Like, so that's where it's kind of one of those things where I was like, it's on site if I see him again.
Was he part of that organization?
Yeah, he was like the main. He was the guy. Like I was the Anakin to his Obi-Wan. Okay. to put it loosely, and. Yeah, and it was a bummer because, like, dude, like just exactly what you said. Like, dude, I used to spend a ton of time with this guy. We created like a fake game together. We called it Slub Ball. It was like a game that we played like during lock-ins with like a bunch of people. Like, we have core memories with this dude. And then, but it's like once I finally like someone ripped the sheet off, I was like, oh, this guy has been manipulating and taking advantage of me and dozens of other kids for a long time. And it's crazy because I remember we were friends with his younger brother, and his younger brother hated his ass, and we never understood why. And his younger brother was a little bit of a burnout, and we were like, oh, man, it's so-and-so. That's just how he is. And then, now that we get to it more, we're like, oh, he was fucking warning us. We should have been smarter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I totally get it. Like most people, I feel like, yeah, are just doing a job or like aren't maliciously like that guy, Mr. A, you guys were what, in middle school? How old are you guys?
Yeah, it would have been middle school mostly.
Yeah, he probably just had a bad day and was like, I want some peace and quiet. I got to let into these kids. But that's, obviously what has made you remember him now, which is unfortunate. But it's like I remember getting yelled at by parents at sleepovers and being like, wow,
so
dude,
uncomfortable.
Your dad's a real asshole. But then I think about it now and I'm like, oh, dude, if I had a bunch of fucking 12-year-olds in my house screaming at 3:00 in the morning, I'd be mad too.
Hey, shut the fuck up. That's the first time have them hear the F word will be if they sleep over my house.
Yeah, dude.
I had a friend's house that we would sleep at, and that was like the do whatever you want house. We loved it. Like my brother and I would go over, and he had every console, every video game. That's where I got introduced to like every fighting game, Grand Theft Auto.
So that's what corrupted you.
Yeah. Yep. And it was awesome. And then it was always like no rules. Like if we were sleeping over, it was like stay up as late as you want, play video games. And I'll never forget the one time that it was probably like 4 a.m. But at that, whatever, we'd done this a million times, but whatever it was that weekend at 4 a.m, his dad was like, "Are you guys still fucking awake?" It's like woke him up. He was probably had to get up at like 5:30, and nothing's worse as an adult when you have to wake up at 5:30 and you're woken up at 4. You're just like, fuck this shit.
Yeah,
like it makes you so mad. You don't go back to sleep right. You wake up feeling like shit. But man, I will never forget because that was the place to go, and it was so chill. But one time getting yelled at, it was like that's seared in my brain forever.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's wild.
So when you started to kind of let go of everything, so you were still involved, but had kind of like you had stopped like pretending to feel bad about sleeping with your girlfriend and doing and partying and all that kind of stuff. Like, where does it go from there? I mean, did you have a big like moment of, oh, I'm done with it? What was it that made you like step away from the whole thing?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, it was that mission trip to Mexico. It was that, and then, it took like about a year or two after that to like fully detach. But I remember I got back from that mission trip, and it was very weird. A girl who like I wasn't even dating. I was, if I could be totally honest, I was probably obsessed with her because she was showing me attention, and I was a depressed kid, not knowing, or I wasn't a kid. I was like 20 years old at this point, but, and her dad, I think I had posted something on Facebook about hiking, and her dad was like, "Hey, I live right by the Appalachian Trail. If you want to come up and like hike it, I can drop you off and pick you up." So I was like, "All right, tight." So I went and did a week on the. I remember they lived in Warrenton, Virginia, and he picked me up somewhere around there. But I started like, I think like almost right where it hit Virginia, or maybe like mid Virginia. I can't really remember. It was so long ago. But I did like 7 days on the Appalachian Trail, and I just refer to it as my vision quest. Like I didn't take a Bible, I didn't pray. I just like was in my head the whole time. I didn't really plan that well for it, and the iPod that I brought died like 2 hours into it, so it was literally just complete silence, like me and my thoughts. And it wasn't like I tried to time it to where I thought I would be with other thru hikers, so I would be like, not completely alone. I did not time that well. It was literally just me by myself walking through the woods of Virginia and like passing someone every now and then. And it was great. I had like a really big, long, hard 7-day think about like, what do I think is right? What do I like, is this situation, could I have handled that better? Like very like introspective, and then I got back into reality. And like I said, I jumped back into that Acts 29 church, but that one didn't last that long. It was like 9 months maybe. And then, but it was like all through that, I remember like the biggest thing, they like wanted to make me praise leader at one point. And like we had like an interview for it. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but like some of the things I didn't answer correctly. And they were like, we just don't think that you're like fully committed. And I remember, I really wish I could remember what I said, but at the time, like, yeah, I doubt I was fully committed. I was basically had, 1 foot and 5 toes out of the door, or 4 toes out of the door on the other thing, So like I was barely still in Christianity at that point. And it was that bad experience with that associate pastor and that church as a whole that kind of just really, really pushed me out. And that was the final like goodbye. I was like, I'm done with church. I didn't say I was done with Christianity. And I think what's really, really pushed me out since then was just like seeing, I'm going to say not to get political and then I'm going to get political, but just like watching like basically watching like fascism take over Christianity over the last decade since then. It's just been like barf. Like I've no part of me wants to be involved in any of that.
You don't like even when people stand up for the Constitution? Is that what the deal is?
That's exactly what it is. But yeah, like, and then like in that same vein, the friends that I do have that are Christian have been and were very silent over those few years, because I know like behind the scenes they're like, well, technically we're winning. Like, and I just was like, I don't want to be a part of that. And I know like I have a lot of friends who still consider themselves Christian, and it's weird because like it's really dependent on the day for me. Like I'll talk with my mom. My mom, like I mentioned earlier, grew up very like angsty and angry towards God, and then like I don't know what happened sometime when I was in college. She's become just your stereotypical like white Christian woman who shares no less than 750 Facebook memes on her page a day, and they're all
of minions.
They're all like minions, but they're all like borderline racist too. I don't know. It's weird. I love my mom because we are at least able to have like constructive talks around stuff like that. But like, she'll be like, well, I just worry about you because, I don't know if you're going to be in heaven. And I'm like, I think I'm going to be, because for me, it's just a concept of God in general. Do I have anything to back that up? Absolutely not. Like,
but also neither do they. So you're in the same boat. Exactly.
Yeah. I was like, I've got my own brain and you've got the writings of a guy who lived thousands of years ago. Who knows who's right? Yeah. So I think, it was being involved in that Acts 29 church. That was my final farewell to Christianity, as like an organization, like as a concrete building. And then it was really just, about a decade of deconstruction after that, just like actually thinking about like, do I believe this? Do my actions how I live, do they even hold up to if I believe this? And a lot of the times it would be like, I do still believe in this, but then I would look at how I live and am I happy living that life? And the answer was yes. And I'm like, okay, well then I don't still believe this. Like, yeah.
So what was after all that, you said you had that kind of like slow exodus for 10 years. When did you start looking at like comedy and finding your way into the comedy world? Was that
Yeah,
something you were into as a kid? Were you like a comedy guy as a kid, or
Yeah, dude.
didn't
I was
come
the
later?
I was the chubby kid growing up, so I had to do comedy to protect myself. And yeah, I've always been the funny guy. I started like actually doing comedy. I was actually right around the time I got out of that last church. So it was like which would have been like the beginning of like my quote unquote senior year. So I did comedy in college for like 6 months or so, moved to New York, did it up there for another year, and then burnt out and quit. That would have been 2014. And then I would pop back into open mics here and there, but I really didn't get back into it like hardcore until I remember I started back doing comedy 2018 that summer, and then my dad passed away that fall, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go into my hole. I'll see you guys a few months later. So when people ask like how long I've been doing comedy, I just say like 4 years because it's been everything chunked together. It's been about 4, but yeah, I've been doing that now. Let me tell you, growing up in the church, got a lot of material.
Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah, which is fun, but it's crazy because like I still, even though I may not adhere to like like people listening to this, I don't know what I gotta hop in the Discord, but I don't know what your
Yeah, dude, definitely, that'd be great.
what your main user or listenership is, but like most people wouldn't call me Christian. I barely call myself Christian, but like some of my favorite bands are still very Christian. I mean, my all-time favorite band there, I'm literally like basically doing like a Grateful Dead tour and following them around is Me Without You, and they're on their big farewell tour right now.
Yeah, dude, you have a Me Without You poster behind you, I think.
Yeah, I got one here.
Yeah,
I got one over here. There's another one laying on the chair over there. Like I've been listening to those guys since I was 12 years old.
dude, they're one of my favorites as well, and I'm bummed because the Boston show they're doing is I have a wedding that same day to be at.
That's a bummer.
And then I'm
going.
I hit Hartford, but I'm thinking about going down for their final Philly show.
Dude, I'm gonna be there. I'm going to both. So if you end up coming, let me know.
Really, dude? Yeah. I will. I need a place to stay too. Can I?
Dude, you can sleep. You can literally sleep on my hotel floor if you want to, man. I don't care. Yeah. I've had those tickets for forever. Like they played 2 shows in North Carolina a couple weeks ago, and I went to the first one, which was in a town called Asheville. And it was great, man. It was like 100-person venue. They didn't have any air conditioning. It literally got up to 104 in there. Everyone was taking off their shirts, and I was on mushrooms. So I was just like, I was texting my wife, and I was just like, I was like, this is the end of a chapter of my life right now. Like I've been listening to these guys for 20 years of my life. Yeah. And it's crazy because like, and I was talking to a guy in a forum. I like this band so much that I'm on a fucking forum about them, and I'm not on a forum for anything else. But a lot of their fans have all followed the same trajectory. They were Christians when they started listening to the band because Me Without You was in that Tooth and Nail. They played at Cornerstone. They were like doing all those things, and then they've kind of become more spiritual. It's kind of crazy. Like, now that you know who they are, you can just say my my beliefs in God are kind of just Me Without You. Like,
he just pulls from different things. Like, I mean, there's
different adaptations,
religious
like
text, different. One of them was like one of the people whose writings he's pulled from a lot, even since honestly the early albums, but it flew under the radar because sometimes he would sing in Arabic or something. But he would pull from a Muslim theologian, philosopher, poet.
Yeah,
I don't know
there's a whole album there where it's like Sufi-based poetry. It's that's the one that no one really liked. It's my favorite one, but
that's the one that kind of almost career suicided them. Actually, I think I mentioned that on the Aaron Lunsford episode. But it was.
I think you guys did. Yeah.
That was like, but the big downfall was because he said Allah a bunch of times in a row.
Yes. Yeah. Which is funny because it's like that's just Arabic for God.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if someone hears that, they're going to be like, "Hold on, now, what are you talking about, boy?" Like, yeah.
How many shows are you? How many shows of theirs have you gone? Do you have tickets to on their final tour?
Right now I did the 2 in North Carolina. Okay. I'm trying to see where I can afford to go elsewhere. It is a bummer because I was like, I'm a huge Norma Jean fan, or was a huge Norma Jean fan. I'm a big Josh Scoggins fan. Norma Jean, The Chariot, all those dudes. I'm like, no one liked The Chariot growing up because it was like it was too much even for hardcore kids. They were like, that just sounds like noise. But me,
yeah, kind of.
yeah, but I was just,
Noisecore, baby.
I was this chaotic ADD riddled kid, and I was like, oh, this does it for me, baby. I was like, blast this into my ears. And literally, I think they did Asheville, Chapel Hill, which is like right outside of Raleigh, and then I think they went to Atlanta the night, or no, they went to Columbia, South Carolina, and Josh Goggins' current band 68, which I think is actually a shirt that I'm wearing right now. Yeah. Is playing with them. So everyone was like, oh, they're going to play a Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste cover. I just know it, which was, the Norma Jean and with Aaron singing at the end. They didn't play it. And then literally like the night they left North Carolina, the next night they played it, and they've been playing it every night since. And I'm just like, son of a bitch.
That's I've probably mentioned this. Maybe this will probably be my third time mentioning it, but that is like one of my most profound musical memories was being at Purple Door in high school, where, because Norma Jean, I don't know if that's still a festival going on, but Norma Jean, Me Without You, The Chariot were all there at the time, so they all did Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste together, and I was like, oh, God, that's one of my easily my most profound musical memory from just being at shows and having a dream come true.
I'll bet Norma Jean still plays that song, even though nobody that's in Norma Jean has anything to do with that song anymore.
Yeah.
No one is in any of the same bands they were in. It's insane. Like what a crazy carousel of people Screamo was in the early 2000s, because it was just a bunch of Christian dudes with egos getting famous and then getting checked for getting famous and then being like, I have to step away in disgrace. Like, do you guys listen? Do you guys listen to the Tooth and Nail podcast at all?
Labeled?
I have before.
Yeah, Labeled. It's crazy for a podcast from a record label. It's got like the worst audio mixing ever. But I think they interview like Timmy McTague, like the guitarist from Underoath, and I don't know if you guys remember if you were listening to him. Like I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 32, so I was like 16 the year they headlined Warped Tour, and they famously had to drop out, and it was like they interview Mikey from NoFX, and the whole thing is that he was like, he came out and was like, oh yeah, those Underoath kids, they're all doing drugs. He like literally was like, I was just making that shit up. Like I thought it was funny because they're all Christian. And then they literally cut that interview right next to their interviewing Timmy, and it's like, yeah, we were all 18-year-old kids, and Christ was our brand. We had no idea what to do. And then like it came, that's when it came out where Spencer, the front man, was like he had done cocaine a couple times.
Oh, and then people just probably ruined his life over it.
Yeah,
because he became an addict, didn't he?
He did.
He had a pretty rough drug problem.
Yeah, I used to take drum lessons from his brother, oddly enough.
Oh, who was in Wolves at the Gate, right? Was that?
Yeah, To Speak of Wolves. To
Speak of Wolves.
So many fucking Wolves fans for a while, man. There was so many.
Phil's a great dude, man. He's actually, I think he's going to be, because his old band was a band called Sullivan, and I think they're in that festival that I mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Which is crazy because that was my band in high school. I love those dudes, and it's frustrating because the front man is a big old Trump guy now, which is
cool.
Big bummer. Yeah.
Well, Corey Brandon got a little annoyingly conservative a few times. I think he got canceled during the BLM protests because he posted something really rude.
I don't remember what it was. What a great way to put it. Really rude.
It was like, it wasn't worth executing him over, but there's going to be a fair amount of people that are like, I don't need you around anymore.
Yeah, I'm good, my guy.
That's what's tough about being in that spot. You're like, you didn't need to do that. Like, I know when you have a platform, you feel like you want to use it because people will hear you, but sometimes that is just your narcissism bleeding into a new category.
Yeah.
And you should just maybe keep it in check. Like, if you say that,
you could have said nothing,
people might not want to listen to your band anymore. Like, and even if you're not quote unquote canceled, like, if 50% of your fan base finds that to be a problem and you say it, they're going to not really feel like buying tickets to your next show. And that's just the natural, that's just the natural consequences of things.
Oh, dude. Yeah. It sets off such a stupid cycle too. Cause like, I remember looking at because I found out about it a while afterwards, and I went back and looked at some of the comment thread and stuff, and some of the things that people say in response are so dumb. They're like, I don't want to see you anywhere near my scene again. You're just like, how? You're like 30 something, man.
Yeah.
Like,
calm down, bud.
These
Yeah, dude,
gatekeepers who never grew up.
Oh, dude, there's a lot. Like, all the venues in Raleigh have since been torn down and turned into mixed-use apartment buildings. But like, there's like one dive bar left in Raleigh where all the old brewery people hang out, and it's just like they've entrenched themselves so hard into like that lifestyle where it's like, remember when this used to be like accepting and cool, and like we were down when people would come to shows, and now it's like if you don't show up to this place with like ripped jeans, like they won't let you in. Like it's so we have to protect our culture, and it's like, dude, our culture isn't anything. It's like
dude, I love the mix of people that show up to like a metalcore show.
Oh, it's great, dude.
It's so good because you have like a lot of the stereotypical metalcore kids, but then you have like the metalcore nerds who show up and they're just wearing like a band t-shirt and relaxed fit jeans and Adidas sneakers. And then there's the out of place punk dude that's got like the battle vest on and the big boots, and he like tries to get into the pit and do whatever that thing is they do, that weird like shuffly dance thing.
Two-stepping. Yeah.
Well, I'm down with the two-step. Whatever the punk guys do where they like kick their feet way out in front of them when they run around.
Oh. Was it like skanking or something?
It might have been skanking.
Skanking, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's something.
Not here. Nope.
Yeah.
Get out of
here.
my
love
pit.
It, like, not in my pit, dude.
And then there's like the junior high kid with the wallet chain and the like oversized Disturbed t-shirt.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of halfway's head banging and doesn't really understand what's happening around it. There's just like such a great mix of people. And then the guy, the dude that's from Boston that tries to get in a fight the whole time. Never like super overtly. He'll just like pop somebody when they're not looking.
Or he's just kind of like big chest and everybody. Like when someone walks by, he kind of leans into him a little bit. Like,
there's a couple of dads there with like 4 and 5-year-olds on their shoulders with earplugs in.
Dude, that's my favorite because like my like going to these shows, especially going to Me Without You shows for so long, I've like seen. It's cool. It's like, it's weird. I don't know any of these people because I'm my only friend that listens to them. All my other friends are like, not our vibe, dude. And so I go to these shows most of the time by myself, and it's like, but Raleigh's not big enough. So it's like the same people come to every single one. And like, I've seen these people all go through phases and like now we're all in our adult years, and it's awesome. It's actually really, it's like something weirdly beautiful about it. Like just growing up with complete strangers, but we seemingly know everything about each other just based on the one show we go to every year or two. But like this last one, it's funny because it was their farewell show, so a lot of people came out, and like I'm in a fantasy football group. I don't even watch football. I could not tell you one NFL player's name right now that is like an active player, but I'm in this fantasy football group with all my old scene buddies because it's just a way for us to like stay in touch. And like they were all in bands growing up. That's like I met most of those guys at screamo shows. And it's like they all, I think like a handful of them, and if they're listening, what's up, guys? But a handful of them came to this last show, and it was just so cool because it's like they're all dads now, and they're all like, we're just a bunch of like milquetoast white dudes just like hanging out. Whereas like 15 years prior, we were, in eyeliner and skin tight t-shirts, going nuts in the pit, and now we're all wearing like baggy shirts we got at Target.
It's fun. It's like instead of getting out an old photo album, like you get to like go back and relive the identity that you tried to oversell to everyone around you.
Yeah, dude, it's great. I love it so much. I'm gonna like, I'm an extremely large and tall person, so like I'm very self-conscious at concerts, but like Me Without You is the one band that I like straight up care about, and I've already told myself like I am gonna be like first in line at one of those Philly shows. Like I'm gonna be up front, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna apologize to everyone behind me. I'm gonna be like, look, I've been listening to these guys for 20 years. Like this is the last time. If you want to get on my shoulders, you can. But I'm gonna be going nuts up here.
Okay, so the metalcore audience guy that you are is the one with the overly sweaty back in front that I keep getting pushed into.
100%, dude. I'm sweating right now, and I'm sitting down.
And
I'm
Casey's
always
not a
sweating.
tall guy, so he's definitely going like face first into your midriff.
Nice.
Just getting
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just gonna be my nose into your tailbone.
I'm the guy at concerts, especially metal concerts, that people like to either get in front of or behind because they know that I'm basically like one of those like parking ballasts for security. Like if something hits me, it's gonna take a few more hits for them to get like messed up in the front or the back. So people can usually like hide behind me.
Something tells me you're not a successful crowd surfer.
No, I crowd surfed one time, and it was an amazing feeling.
Just left a line of compound fractures behind you.
Yeah, it's like a steamroller through the crowd, dude. It's funny. It was actually at a Chariot show. I was a photographer in high school, and I used to shoot Warped Tour back in the day. And
really? That's cool.
And I was I can't remember what happened. I was in like the press area because there's like a little barricade space for a Chariot show, and that had gotten like smashed, and I was kind of like trapped. And Josh Goggins like pulled me on stage, and he was just like, "Yeah, dive," like in the middle of a song. I was like, "I don't know if this is gonna work, dude, but okay."
And
yeah, it was
here.
great.
You're still here, so
I'm alive, dude. Yeah,
if you're gonna
God said it wasn't my time. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. So I guess before we wrap up, I want to just you to talk. Just go ahead and I want you to plug your podcast. I know you got some like comedy dates coming up. I think you have some in your area, but I also saw that you're on Maine Comedy Festival.
Yeah, I'll be all over, dude. It's to the detriment of my wife. I'm going to be gone for 5 weekends in a row. So if you guys didn't catch my name, my name's Spencer Bland. You can follow me just on Instagram at Spencer Spicy over there. I run a podcast called Bop or Flop Pod. It's me and my best friend, my comedy partner, my brother in Christ. Literally, I met him at a Bible study. He walked into my apartment. Now we're both deconstructed. But yeah, it's me and my buddy Jordan Huggins. We run this podcast called Bop or Flop, where we either us or we have a guest on. We pick a date from history, and we go back and we look at the Billboard top 10 from that date, and then we talk about if the songs are still good or not. And you'd think like, oh yeah, Billboard top 10 songs, they got to be good. No, they don't. They don't at all.
It's a lot of fun, man. I started checking it out after we started interacting on Instagram, and it's a good time.
Yeah, man, it's dumb. And you can follow us. We're across all social medias at Bop or Flop Pod. Or if you just want to listen, you can listen to every episode that we have on our website, which is just boporflop.com. And then, we dabbled in it, but I'm a comedian. I've been doing it for a few years. I like to think I'm funny, but other people who have no stake in my personal gain say I'm funny, which is nice to hear. But I'm going to be a lot of places. If you happen to be in LA, the most recent date, I'm going to be in LA July 19th through the 25th. On the 20th, I'll be at what's called the Saltel Show. At Friday the 22nd, I'll be at a big show called Faded. I love that show. I'm so stoked to be on it. And then Monday the 25th, I'm going to be on a show called Frog World, which is also pretty great and pretty fun. And then, further into the future, let's see, August 25th through 28th, I will be in Portland, Maine for the Portland, Maine Comedy Festival, performing in that. And then
have you
September.
Been to Portland?
Dude, I love it. My one of my best friends lives up there.
Yeah, if you haven't, you'll drink. If you drink and you like beer, you'll drink a lot of great beer.
I quit drinking this year. I will probably start, or at least I'll probably dive back in for that weekend just because I love the food. I love everything about Portland, Maine. It's honestly, I should probably live there given the climate that I enjoy, but it's great. It's like the one comedy festival I wanted to get into. So I'm stoked for it. But yeah, that'll be August 25th through 28th. I'll be up there. And then the following weekend, September 1st through the 4th, I'll be in Omaha, Nebraska for the Omaha Comedy Festival. So that'll be pretty tight. Yeah, I'm stoked for that one.
That's
never
not
been
far from me.
I've never been to Omaha, never even been to Nebraska, but I've heard they have some banging burgers. So I'm going to be eating a lot of beef that weekend. And then lastly, let's see, September 16th through actually September 16th and 17th. It's a Friday and Saturday. I will be in Bristol, Tennessee, headlining the Blue Ridge Comedy Club. 2 shows both nights. We're going to do a podcast for the early show and then comedy for the second show. Jordan and I will be there. So
Awesome.
Should be a lot of fun. So if you're in LA, Portland, Maine, Omaha, Nebraska, or Bristol, Tennessee, come see me. If you happen to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, I do shows all over here all the time. So come out and say hey. But this has been awesome. It's funny. I for as much trauma as it's caused me and pain and suffering through the year, I love nothing more than talking about religion, dude. It's so much fun.
It's so much camaraderie. That's why this never gets old. We've been doing this. God, it's been over a year and a half, and it's like
that rules.
You're still doing like having the conversations with people. It's like it's always different. Everyone's story is unique, even though it's still talking about the same kind of premise. And
yeah,
just being able to talk about it with people, it's always enjoyable. And it doesn't really matter where people ended up, as long as they have to have drifted a little bit. They have to drifted enough from where we came in order to make it entertaining. If they're still in that world, it's like, it's not the same kind of fun, but
yeah. And they just get angry at you the whole time.
But yeah, man, this was a blast. Thanks so much for hanging out with us for this.
I'm stoked, man. I'm glad that I had. So you guys got connected to McBride somehow, and then I saw him post about it.
I found him on TikTok, dude. That's how.
Whoa, that's crazy, man. I gotta say, some of my best friends are internet friends right now. People I've just found. Like one of my like greatest buddies lives in Newcastle, England, and I just literally found him on Twitter like 8 years ago. So
oh really? Yeah, dude, it's fun. We've connected with such cool people doing this, and I mean, still in touch. Even like, every once in a while, I like get a text or an email from someone that we've talked to and go back and forth, and it's just really cool to make those connections with different people with cool stories across the country.
Well, we're friends for life now, so that's tight. Dude. Yeah, dude.
I want to like actually see if I can make it out for Portland thing, because I'm Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's not too far.
I always want to go to Portland, so like that would be a good time to make that happen again.
Dude, I'll be driving up, so I might actually have my dog with me. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm a big road trip guy, so I'm gonna do the 18-hour drive from Raleigh.
You gotta be in your business.
Yeah,
me too. Road trip.
Yeah, I love it, man. We went up to I drove to like, I think it was like it was 2 years ago. It was 2021, but I drove up to Lubec, Maine, which is like right before you get to Canada.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, and my buddy and I in our hubris thought we could go to Canada, and then realized like, oh no, this country has laws, we don't. So
a passport.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'm gonna tell all my friends about it. I got so many dudes you can talk to if you need more guests or anything. So
all right,
absolutely. Man. Anybody with a good story, we love comedians too. So.
Yeah, and I feel like I've got way more stories. If you ever want to have me back on, happy to jump back on.
Hell yeah, man!
Definitely.
Awesome.
Well, all right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.